Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's meeting of Georges River Council. I declare the meeting open at 7 p.m. Start with the acknowledgement of country. I would like to acknowledge the Bidjigal people of the Eora Nation, who are the traditional custodians of all lands, waters and sky in the Georges River area. I pay my respect to elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who live, work and meet on these lands. It is November, so we have an acknowledgement of Remembrance Day. They went with songs to the battle. They were young, straight of limb, true of eye, steady and aglow. They were staunch to the end, against odds uncounted. They fell with their faces to the foe. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them, lest we forget. If we could please stand for a moment's silence. Thank you. If we could please remain standing for the national anthem.
Australians, all let us rejoice, for we are one and free. With golden soil and wealth but toil, our home is the bound sea. I let the mountain nature's gifts of beauty in history's space, let every state of man's strength is
Please remain standing for the opening prayer, which tonight will be led by Pastor Peter Wallace from the Revival Life Centre.
Let's pray. Father, we just thank you for a night like this, which we gather to hear others, Lord. And I just pray that you would open our hearts, that we would be meek to hear. Lord, I just want to thank you so much also for the community that we live in. Lord, for your protection over it, Lord. Father, I pray for every council member here and their families. Lord, that you would bless them for the service that they give to our community. Lord, we just pray for the Christmas season coming too, Lord. Father, we pray for every business in this place, Lord, that it might be a time of prosperity. But Father, we also pray for our roads and things like that for safety as well. And so, Father, as this committee, Lord, as this council deliberates, I just ask your hand to be upon them in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. Please be seated. We move to apologies. Apologies were accepted and a leave of absence granted for Councillor Marnie at the previous meeting. I believe we have full attendance otherwise, so there are no other apologies. Request to join via audiovisual link. There were no requests to join via audiovisual link. Notice of live streaming of the council meeting. Staff and public are reminded that this meeting is being recorded for minute-taking purposes and is also being webcast live on Council's website. This recording will be made available on Council's website. The order of business is as shown in the agenda. Council's Code of Meeting Practice prohibits the electronic recording of meetings without the express permission of Council. Disclosures of interest. We have a few disclosures of interest. If we could please bring them up on the screen there. There are 4. and two of them one is a significant non-pecuniary interest from Councillor Wayne. He will vacate the chamber on the item of the feasibility study for the Hurstville night markets, and the other is a pecuniary interest from Councillor Allison on the tree management and associated services, and the other two are non-significant non-pecuniary disclosures of interest. Councillors, are there any other interests to declare on items on the agenda tonight? No? Before we move to the public participation on items on the agenda, I would just like to firstly welcome Bryce Spelter, Council's new Director of Assets and Infrastructure, to Georges River Council, joining us tonight for the first time. Bryce joins us with more than 25 years experience in local government and a strong record of shaping and delivering major infrastructure programs across metropolitan Sydney. Most recently, he served as Chief Engineer at Sutherland Shire Council, leading the planning, delivery and design of over $100 million in infrastructure works each year and managing a team of more than 80 staff. And before that, Bryce held senior roles at Bayside, Camden, and also right here at Hurstville and Georges River Council, gaining wide experience in project planning, sustainable asset management and community engagement. And I'm confident his leadership will be a real asset as we continue to deliver the infrastructure our community needs and expects. So please join me in welcoming Bryce to Georges River Council. We will move now to the public participation on items on the agenda. There are 10 speakers registered for tonight's meeting. I will remind speakers that speakers have a 3-minute time limit. The first sound you hear indicates that you have 1 minute remaining. At the second sound, please conclude your comments. The first speaker is David Fletcher, speaking in person on CCL 10425, EMV 03825, the repurpose of the Moomba to Sydney Ethane Pipeline Hazard Analysis. Thank you, Mr. Fletcher.
Thanks. Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. My name is David Fletcher. I'm from Beverly Hills in the town centre zone. I'm asking you tonight to please vote no on recommendation B in the repurposing the MSC pipeline hazard analysis. A 200-metre hazard map and tougher rules for revitalisation are not needed, and they will block the homes the community desperately needs and council's own housing targets. The truth is simple. The state has already approved a full safety report for this pipeline. It rated the risk as 0. Even this new report, which isn't needed, confirms the risks are well below all state limits. Beverly Hills could safely take more homes, more families and more life. The new report says Beverly Hills could safely be the most densely populated suburb in the LGA, with the upper limit so crazy dense it will not be reached. So why create a 200-metre exclusion zone with no evidence? And it doesn't make sense to remove old hazard labels with recommendation C and add new ones with recommendation B. That sends mixed messages and makes our community lose trust in council. The real cost is housing. This rule would shut down LMR housing across Beverly Hills and Riverwood, exactly where the state requires various types of low and mid-rise. We can't meet our targets if we keep drawing new no-build circles on the map. We're already dealing with the disputed flood study. Adding another barrier for a pipeline already considered safe creates planning paralysis, and other New South Wales councils do not impose. Case-by-case assessment already works. We don't need an LEP change, and the law doesn't require one. So I'm asking you, choose renewal, not the search for red tape. Choose homes, not hurdles. Choose facts, not fear. Support A and C. Please vote no on recommendation B. Reject a planning proposal to amend the LEP to restrict sensitive use development within 200 metres of the pipeline. Beverly Hills is ready and needs to grow to survive. Please stop the politics. Do what is right for the Beverly Hills community. Thanks for letting me speak.
Our next speaker is Spiro Valdikis, in person on CCL 10425, EMV 03825, the repurpose of the Moomba to Sydney Ethane Pipeline Hazard Analysis.
Thank you. We strongly urge Council not to endorse the recommendations proposed, that being item B, in short, a planning proposal to amend the Georges River LEP, which aims to include restrictions on land use for properties within the 200-metre zone. The report's findings are clear, however, the recommendations proposed conflict the report's findings. The findings clearly indicate that the LDI fatality risk is below the relevant DPHI risk criteria. There is no impediment to sensitive use. The injury, property damage and accident propagation risk is below the DPHI risk criteria. The maximum societal risk is within the negligible zone and less than that represented in HIPAP 6 and HIPAP 10. Based on societal risk map, any allocation within 200 metres of the pipeline can be considered for population intensification. It also states that the maximum uniform population density can be accommodated without exceeding societal risk. The recommendations are made to GRC for consideration only, not necessarily for adoption. To suggest that all avoidable risks should be avoided and suggest precautionary land use controls be implemented goes against the findings of the risk analysis undertaken by Ariscar and the pipeline operator. The gas line operator's report tabled for repurposing suggests the findings and risk analysis undertaken are similar to the revised Ariscar report, and the legislative requirements under AS 2855 for risk analysis relies solely on the operator, not GRC. If GRC did not object to the planning proposal to repurpose the pipeline to natural gas, why does it believe that spending ratepayers' money on amending the LEP use criteria to restrict sensitive use, knowing quite well that a change in use to the LEP affecting properties within that zone must be presented to the pipeline operator again for analysis and risk assessment as part of their legislative requirements. The operator will again advise council that there is no risk to such sensitive land use or the need to reduce population intensification as a result of the risk. Evidence would suggest the council taking such direction, in fact, is an alternative strategy to limit development on land that is deemed permissible under the state government's mid to low rise set. We endorse recommendations to remove notations on planning certificates as noted in item C. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Valdez. Our next speaker is Dr. Ben Balfour, speaking in person on CCL 10425, EMV 03825, repurpose of the Moomba to Sydney Ethane Pipeline Hazard Analysis. Also speaking on question with notice 04225, mandatory planning alignment. Just to confirm, Dr. Bowles, you have 3 minutes in total for the 2 items. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, councillors, council officers. Thank you for your service and thank you for letting me speak tonight about 03825 about the Moomba gas pipeline. Revive Beverly Hills is a community organisation seeking to promote the interest of Beverly Hills, which as a suburb is struggling. We note the updated pipeline analysis dated 21st of August 25. Council commissioned this expensive report, even though it's unnecessary. The DPHI had already provided a report for free, which came from the pipeline owner. This report confirms, though, what we already know, that the pipeline is up to modern standards and it is completely safe. Paragraph B that you're discussing tonight suggests that development be prohibited within 200 metres either side of the pipeline. That's a total of 400 metres of prime real estate that has been earmarked by the state government for the low medium rise policy. This potential prohibition is extreme as a draconian measure and cannot be justified by the report. Sydney is growing and in 20 years' time there will be 8 million people. So every council needs to welcome the younger generation. But this flawed paragraph would say that the door is closed. The repurposing also contradicts council's own net zero carbon emissions policy because council did not oppose repurposing despite the climate emergency and despite natural gas being one of the worst greenhouse gases. The website of the Georges River Residents and Ratepayers Party openly opposes the LMR and the Beverly Hills Master Plan. They are openly opposing Chris Minn's democratically supported policy. We are very concerned about this. We're concerned there may actually be a conflict of interest for members of the GRRR party regarding any LMR issues.
I'm just going to call a point of order on you there, Mr. Bowser.
Yes.
There is no conflict of interest, and I would ask you to please withdraw that statement.
I'll withdraw them. So I remind you, though, of the inconsistency with Walleye Creek, where there are 2 high-pressure gas pipelines running under the footpath right next to 21-storey buildings, including this very same gas pipeline. And I remind everyone that the hazard levels noted for the pipeline are less than the risk of dying from an earthquake or an asteroid strike in Sydney. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Bruce Fry. It's a written submission on NM 10125, Ogden Park Master Plan, fencing around off-leash dog area. Ms. McKinley, please.
I'm in strong support of motion NM 101-25. This is about getting the fencing for the Hogben Park off-leash dog area right. First, upon completion of the Hogben Park Master Plan, or even before, to ensure no further delays, Council must move quickly to prepare and submit an application for funding under the New South Wales Community Building Partnerships Grant Program. This is a practical, achievable step that ensures we secure the resources needed to deliver the fencing without further delay. Second, the location and design of the fencing must be informed by community feedback and aligned with the master plan. That means fencing in dry, well-drained areas, not the swampy sections that have made spaces unusable in the past. Location matters. Get this wrong and we waste public funds and yet more time. Third, C, genuine engagement with our community is non-negotiable. For 3 years while we waited, Council continued to insist on putting the dog park in a swampy area, an area that the consultant council engaged and the park plan endorsed by Council set aside as wetlands because of its saturated soil. We use this park every day. We know it best. Yet our feedback has been continually ignored until it became refutably evident that the Council's chosen site was unfit for purpose. This motion ensures that our voices will finally shape the outcome, delivering a design that supports both amenity and safety for dogs and park users. Finally, D, receiving a further report after the grant outcome is essential for transparency and accountability. Our community deserves to know the funding status and next steps for delivery. This is about action, not endless delays. Councillors, let's be clear, it has taken 3 years of delay with no action, even as rampant development in the North Ward has driven a booming population. That growth has generated substantial developer contributions, funds meant to improve local infrastructure and amenity, yet those contributions have not been invested in our immediate vicinity. We deserve better. Support this motion. Let's get this park plan and dog park right, and let's get it done. Let's get it done without any further delays.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Alicia Boyd, also a written submission on NM 10125, Ogden Park Master Plan, fencing around off-leash dog area.
I'm writing to express my strong support for Thomas Gale's motion to progress planning and funding for fencing around the off-leash dog area in Hogben Park, and to ensure that the final location and design are shaped by genuine community engagement. As a local dog owner who has been actively involved in discussing this with Council, I want all to emphasise again how important it is that the fenced area be placed on the higher, well-drained ground near the basketball court. This location already serves as the natural meeting point for dog owners because it is the only part of the park that stays dry and safe. It keeps dogs well away from busy roads and avoids the lower-lying waterlogged areas where dead rodents are often found, which creates a serious health and hygiene risk for our pets. The elevated area immediately behind the basketball courts is the preferred dog park location for local dog owners because of drainage, safety and proximity to where dog owners already gather. I also want to express strong support for the use of a small portion of the more than 44 million in developer community contributions coming from developments happening in Kogarah North Ward to finally deliver real community facilities in the area most directly impacted by that rapid high-rise growth. It is entirely reasonable that residents who are living with this significant increase in density see those contributions reinvested back into their well-being and everyday amenity. This expectation is also fully consistent with state planning laws, which require that developer contributions be spent on infrastructure that directly benefits the communities experience the development impacts. A well-located and properly fenced dog park is a simple, practical and urgently needed example of that investment. Continuing to direct the bulk of these funds towards lower density and wealthier suburbs that are not experiencing the same level of development pressure is both inequitable and inconsistent with the intent of those state planning requirements. Local residents in Kogarah North deserve their fair share. Securing grant funding through the New South Wales Community Building Partnerships Program is a positive step, and equally important is the commitment to continue engaging residents on the final location and design. We all appreciate the effort to provide a new dog-friendly space after community access to Kogarah Oval was lost. We simply want to ensure the final outcome is genuinely functional, safe and usable throughout the year, rather than a muddy space that becomes abandoned soon after opening. Thank you, Thomas, for listening to our concerns and for progressing a motion that reflects what the community has been asking for over a very long time. I hope to see this motion move ahead in a way that delivers a safe, clean and reliable place for dog owners and their pets.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Anjali Baju. Written submission on NM 10125, Hogden Park Master Plan, fencing around off-leash dog area.
I'm here tonight in full support of the motion for a fenced off-leash dog park in the correct location at Hogben Park. This is about getting the fencing right, getting the placement right, and finally delivering what the community has waited far too long for. Let me be absolutely clear. The community wants a dog park that is accessible, safe and usable year-round. That cannot happen if it is placed in the area our own planning documents classify as a swampy wetland. We've seen before what happens when infrastructure is built in the wrong place. We end up with abandoned spaces, wasted public funds and a community left frustrated and unheard. We cannot afford that mistake again. The solution is not complicated. The upper dry, clearly used area of Hogben Park is where residents walk their dogs, meet each other and actually utilise the space. It is visible, safe and already functioning as a natural hub for dog activity. Fencing this area would enhance what already works rather than pouring money into a part of the park that is wet, muddy and unusable for a large portion of the year. This isn't just about dogs, it's about smart planning, responsible spending and supporting a community asset that benefits families, social connection and public safety. A poorly located dog park is a waste. A well-placed one becomes a long-term asset. The community is not asking for more reports, more studies or more delays. We're asking for action based on common sense, lived experience and the feedback residents have been giving for years. Properly consult the people who use this park every single day. Take their input seriously. Don't make decisions for the community without actually listening to them. Tonight is an opportunity for the council to show it has heard the message loud and clear. Choose the location that works. Choose the location that is dry, accessible and already loved by the community. Choose the location that ensures the dog park is a success, not an expensive mistake. We've waited long enough. Please get the fencing right, get the placement right and finally deliver the dog park this community deserves.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Anastasia Simos, and speaking on her behalf is her relative Helen Soulos on NM 10425, Ferry Avenue, Beverley Park Traffic Safety. The light's on, so please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, and good evening, Madam Mayor and councillors, and thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Helen Soulos, and I'm speaking on behalf of Emmanuel and Anastasia Simos, who are long-standing residents of 30 Ferry Avenue, Beverley Park, well over 20 years. They are deeply disappointed about the motion that is put forward for your consideration tonight. In particular, the consultation process and the lack of consultation that they claim just in fact did not occur with them. Their household was deliberately excluded from receiving the letter and petition that were distributed via mailboxes. They were neither informed nor notified about any meetings relating to this campaign. No correspondence was delivered to their mailbox, nor were they invited to attend the recent gathering held at the park on Ferry Avenue. They strongly object to the motion proposing traffic calming devices such as speed humps, chicanes or traffic recognition systems on Ferry Avenue in front or near their property. The reason is simple. There is no evidence of speeding or hooning issues on this street. There is no evidence to support the motion or the view that Ferry Avenue is a high risk or high speed location. In fact, the street's narrow layout and parked cars naturally slow traffic. Installing these devices would be unnecessary and disruptive. These measures can create unintended consequences. Speed humps can increase noise pollution, especially from trucks, utes and other vehicles. And emergency vehicles at night disturbing residents' sleep. They also can slow emergency units' response times to up to 10 seconds. Introducing infrastructure that could delay life-saving services without clear need is unacceptable. Emmanuel and Anastasia, long-standing residents, have lived here for 20 years and in that time have raised 2 children and never experienced traffic safety issues. We believe that parents should have should remain vigilant, apologies, in terms of their children's safety, and we should refrain from engaging in a dialogue around a problem that just simply doesn't exist. The proposal lacks genuine community consultation. Decisions should be based on evidence and inclusive engagement, not the influence of a few individuals or views of a handful of individuals. Installing traffic calming devices here would be a misuse of taxpayer funds, money that could be better spent on other community priorities. To be clear, we do all want safety, but safety measures must be proportional to actual risk, not assumed risk, and should not create new problems that outweigh the original concern. We respectfully ask Council to reject this motion, consult properly with all residents within Ferry Avenue, and if there is an established risk, consider alternative evidence-based options that maintain the livability of Ferry Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Silas. Our next speaker is Akash Goyal, and it's a written submission on question with notice 04225, mandatory planning alignment.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. I do so as a long-term general practitioner serving the community of Beverly Hills. I deeply care for this community that we all serve. With our railway station, vibrant local centre and well-connected transport network, Beverly Hills is well placed to benefit from the low and mid-rise housing policy. This policy has the potential to provide much-needed housing options for young families, key workers and older residents wishing to downsize while staying in the area they love. Why thoughtful medium-density housing helps our community. Many local families are finding it increasingly difficult to secure suitable housing. Terraces, manor houses and well-designed low-rise apartments, the forms enabled under the LMR SEP, offer practical and attractive options close to public transport. Welcoming more residents near the centre strengthens Beverly Hills shops, restaurants and services. It supports local jobs and builds a more vibrant, walkable neighbourhood. This all feeds into the local economic growth of the area. A respectful request to remove the remaining barriers. To ensure the policy functions as intended, I politely offer the following observations. 1. Flood study considerations. The flood study is an important tool and residents appreciate the need for safety. However, using it as a broad reason to prevent all LMR development in Beverly Hills seems inconsistent with the detailed site-specific approach encouraged by the SEP. I respectfully suggest that Council withdraw the earlier request to the Minister that sought a blanket exclusion. Instead, flood risks can be assessed carefully, case by case, so that suitable sites are not unnecessarily restricted. 2. Pipeline hazard clarification. The recent Moomba to Sydney pipeline hazard analysis indicates that the densities and building types allowed under the LMR do not pose an elevated risk. Given this updated information, it would be helpful if Council could remove references to pipeline-related constraints that are no longer supported by the evidence. Working together for the best outcome, I also encourage Council to align the LEP and DCP with the standards set out in the LMR set, enable complying development certificates where proposals meet those standards, and consider full LMR uptake when reviewing the contributions plan so vital local infrastructure is properly supported. These steps would give residents and the community greater certainty and help Beverly Hills grow in a manageable and well-supported way. I appreciate the work Council officers and councillors have already put into this complex issue. My comments are shared in the spirit of cooperation and with a genuine desire to see Beverly Hills continue to thrive as a welcoming, diverse and well-planned community. Thank you for considering my views.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Gavin Stark in person on question with notice 04225, mandatory planning alignment.
Thank you. Well, firstly, thank you for the opportunity of speaking tonight. Gavin Sharp is my name. I've been a real estate agent in Beverly Hills for over 30 years. The state government wants to see increased housing. As a result, they introduced the LMR. Beverly Hills was chosen to be a part of the LMR. Overwhelmingly, the feedback that I've been receiving from developers, architects and planners is that they have serious concerns as to whether Georges River Council will actually approve any applications under the LMR. I know with just normal dual occupancy applications, they're taking up to 12 months and sometimes more. The feedback that I'm getting from developers and from buyers is that if I get a site in Beverly Hills and it can be approved through CDC, everybody wants to buy. If it has to go through council, the majority of builders are saying we can't afford to wait 12 months. We're concerned that it might take 18 months. So what I'd like to know is how council propose to address this with applications under the LMR, because, as I say, the general consensus is that most builders feel that council do not want development in the LMR, which I think would be a lost opportunity. So, thank you.
I'm just going to, just for a point of clarification there, I think there's an inference that council has a choice to abide by the law, which is set out by the LMR, and that is not the case. Council will be assessing applications in accordance with the law. So any inference that we would be using discretion otherwise is not true. So I just want to put that on the record, that our officers will be assessing development applications in accordance with the legislation from the state government.
That I completely understand, Mayor. I think probably where I was getting at as well is I think as a consequence of the time delay that it's been taking with the DAs for normal properties, I think it's a massive disincentive.
Thank you, Mr. Sharp. And if you will see in our recent environment and planning reports, our DA assessment timeframes are coming down substantially. So thank you. We'll move to the next speaker.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Eddie Wren, speaking in person on question with no notice 01625, Council Flood Report at Beverly Hills.
Yeah, good evening, mayors, councillors, and fellow residents. My name is Eddie, and I've been proud to call Beverly Hills home for more than 6 years. I speak tonight as a resident, a ratepayer, and a parent who see how knowledge has become for young families to remain in the community they love. I'm here to urge council to bring our local planning settings into alignment with the New South Wales law, lower and mid-rise housing policy, because delaying this work carries real consequences for affordability, for household budgets, and for the future vitality of our suburbs. Let's start with what is already clear. The LMR is a state environment planning policy. It applies across New South Wales and prevails wherever local controls are more restrictive. This isn't a matter of interpretation. It's confirmed directly in the business paper. Yet for months, council's approach has treated LMR as something optional, adding layers of.
Sorry, Mr. Wren, I'm going to correct you there. That is not true. If you could please withdraw that statement. Council does not determine that LMR is optional. It's a state government policy, and we abide by it. So if you could please withdraw that statement.
Right. Consider the gas pipeline. The updates Mumbai Sydney hazard analysis was only reported on 10th of November, just 6 days ago. It identifies a 200-meter precautionary zone, but even the report notes that the risk is already negligible and fully addressed within existing SEPP provisions. Adding a second set of local restrictions simply causes more complexity, not better safety. Flood planning has created the great uncertainty. 6 of the 7 LMR eligible areas in our LGA already fall within the George River catchment, meaning the SEPP itself excludes PMF affected land. Council did not need to speak additional carve-outs for Beverly Hills. The only remaining restricted is the Cooks River catchment. The correspondence has triggered confusion across the community. Young people have paused the deposits. Sellers have hesitated to list, and the residents are unsure what rules apply. One suburb should not be isolated for extra restrictions when the state has already defined the flood-affected area consistently and transparently. And as submitted, the current approach risks removing the entire LGA from LMR eligibility far beyond the SEPP requires. There's also a financial reality we cannot ignore. Residents regularly raise concerns about aging stormwater infrastructure. Our local infrastructure contributes strings plan is kept at 20,000 per jury. Continuing to fund the repeated studies, appeals, and consultant report to resist a state policy that already applies place this unnecessary strains on ratepayers who expect.
Mr. Renzo, time is up. If you could just make your concluding comment, please.
Okay,
Thank you. That concludes the public forum for tonight's meeting. We move to the confirmation of minutes of the previous meeting. CCL 10125, confirmation of the minutes of the meeting held on the 27th of October 2025. That's been moved by Councillor Liu and seconded by Councillor Jamieson. Councillors, any discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against? I declare that carried. I have one mayoral minute for tonight's meeting. It is MM 02225, Community Safety in Georges River. I'll take the mayoral minute as read, and I just have a few comments. Over the past few weeks, residents in Cogra Bay and more recently in Connells Point have experienced understandable concern following a series of break-ins. In response, I convened a community safety meeting in Cogra Bay last week to ensure residents had the opportunity to speak directly with senior police and to receive accurate information and practical advice. I want to thank Acting Superintendent David El Badawi and Detective Inspector Michael Seckhold from the St George Police Area Command for attending the meeting at very short notice, listening to the concerns raised and providing valuable updates on the ongoing investigations. It was reassuring to see just a few days after the meeting that arrests were made in relation to break-ins that occurred in Sans Souci 1 or 2 months earlier. The willingness of our senior police to engage directly with our community was greatly appreciated by residents. I also want to acknowledge the residents who took the time to attend. Understandably, there was a great deal of distress and emotion when people experienced the violation of someone unlawfully entering or even attempting to enter their homes, their sanctuary. The way residents came together demonstrated the strong sense of community that exists. The mayoral minute before you today proposes that Council expand this collaboration by working with the St George Police Area Command to host a broader community safety forum for residents across the Georges River LGA. This will allow more residents to hear directly from police, understand crime trends, learn prevention strategies, and strengthen our shared commitment to community safety. Council has an important role to play in facilitating these conversations and ensuring our community has access to the right information. This broader forum will support that aim and reinforce our long-standing partnership with local police. I commend the mayoral minute to councillors and ask for your support. Do any other councillors have anything they wish to add? Any comments? If not, I will put the mayoral minute. All those in favour say aye. All those against? I declare that motion carried. Condolences. Councillors, are there any condolences for tonight's meeting? No? Okay, before we move to the committee reports, Councillor Jamieson.
Yes, would I be able to move a procedural motion, an urgency motion, please?
Yes, and what is the urgency motion?
That council consider an urgency motion to alter the council and committee meeting schedule. The matter is considered urgent as a decision is required by the council before the next scheduled ordinary meeting, as the alteration refers to the December meetings of council.
Okay, yes, I'll allow that as an urgency motion. Councillors, anyone wishing to speak on that urgency motion? If not, I'll put the urgency motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against? I declare that carried. And now your urgency motion, Councillor Jamieson.
Yeah. Yeah, so the motion is that Council A remove the committee meeting scheduled on 8th of December 2025 from the Council and committee meeting schedule and have all reports go directly to the ordinary Council meeting. And B, that the December ordinary Council meeting scheduled for 15th of December 2025 be moved forward to 8th of December 2025.
That's moved by Councillor Jamieson. I need a seconder for that motion, seconded by Councillor Moore. Councillors, any discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against? I declare that motion carried. Okay, and now we move to the committee reports. The first being CCL 102-25. That is the report of the Assets and Infrastructure Committee meeting held on the 10th November 2025. Councillor Mort.
I move the recommendations of the staff on CCL 102-25.
Thank you. That's moved by Councillor Mort. If I could have a seconder, seconded by Councillor Liu. Councillors, any discussion on those items? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against? I declare the motion carried. We move to CCL 103-25, report of the Finance and Governance Committee meeting held on the 10th of November 2025. Councillor Jamieson.
I move all items of the Finance and Governance Committee excluding FIN 044-25.
Okay, that's moved by Councillor Jamieson and seconded by Councillor Mort. Any discussion, councillors? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against? I declare that carried. We'll now move to the item that was pulled out, which is FIN 044-25, the quarterly budget review. Councillor Jamieson.
I move the following recommendations. That's just an adjustment. So B changes to the council adopt the proposed amendments to the 2025-26 budget as outlined in the attachments with the following revisions. I retain branch libraries compliance and ongoing renewals in the 2025-26 capital program, and I allocate 0.5 million in years 2, 3 and 4 of the capital program for implementation of the sports field lighting audit outcomes.
So that's the motion you've moved is as published with part B 1 and 2 added to the motion, and it's been moved by Councillor Jamieson. If I could please call for a seconder, seconded by Councillor Mort. Councillors, any discussion on that item? If not, I will put the item. All those in favour say aye. All those against? I declare it carried. We move to CCL 104-25, report of the Environment and Planning Committee meeting held on the 10th November 2025. Councillor Allison.
I move the officer's recommendations with the exception of EMV 038-25, repurpose of Moomba to Sydney Ethane Pipeline hazard analysis.
Thank you. That's been moved by Councillor Allison, seconded by Councillor Jamieson. Councillors, any discussion on the items on the committee excluding ENV 038-25? If any discussion on the items excluding the Moomba, yeah, okay, so we'll move the committee items first. All those in favour say aye. All those against? I declare that motion carried. And now we will move to the item that has been pulled out, which is ENV 038-25. That is the repurpose of the Moomba to Sydney Ethane Pipeline hazard analysis. Councillor Allison. You have to move the item as in the report. We don't have to, but we've pulled that item out, so you can move the council officer recommendation from the committee if you wish. Yep. Stand up.
I move the officer's recommendation.
Okay, so that's been moved by Councillor Allison. That's the recommendation as published in the Environment and Planning Committee report, and I need a seconder on that. It's seconded by Councillor Lansbury. And Councillor Anzaletti, do you have an amendment?
Yeah, I do have an amendment. So it's up there. There's a minor change to the second I point in that, which is just to revise the revised hazard analyst report will be considered in land use. The major amendment change or the amendment change is for C and D. Would you like me to read through that?
Yes, please.
Okay, so C, that council referred this matter to the New South Wales Department of Planning, Housing and Infrastructure for clarification and advice on the appropriateness of restricting sensitive development within the 200 metres of the Moomba to Sydney Ethane pipeline, noting that revised independent hazard analysis report identifies no significant risk and confirms the assessment risk level is well below established state thresholds. Given the conflicting advice before councillors, and noting that other councils along the same pipeline have adopted risk-based target planning controls rather than broad blanket restrictions, seeking guidance is necessary to ensure that any controls applied are evidence-based, proportionate and consistent with state policy. D, that council to point B of the committee recommendation and other similar and related actions until communication with the department has been completed.
Been moved by Councillor Anzalotti, so I'll go to Councillor Allison to ask whether you accept that amendment from Councillor Anzalotti.
I don't accept that.
Okay. Councillor, we need a seconder for Councillor Anzalotti's amendment. So Councillor Wang, you're seconding that. Councillor Anzalotti, would you like to speak to the amendment?
Can we ask questions or shall we wait until after Councillor Anzalotti?
We'll let Councillor Anzalotti speak and then you can ask some questions.
Okay. So the amendment is essential because recommendations before us ask us to restrict all sensitive development within that 200 metre of the Mumbai to Sydney ethane pipeline, despite that revised independent hazard analysis report clearly stating that the pipeline presents no significant risk. And the assessed risk level sits well below the established New South Wales thresholds, as our speakers have mentioned tonight. We're dealing with conflicting advice. On one hand, we have an expert independent commission report telling us that the risk is negligible and already compliant with state safety benchmarks. On the other hand, we are being asked to adopt a highly restrictive planning control that does not seem to reflect the conclusions of that expert report. Councillors should not be put in the position of having to reconcile contradictory information without clear clarity. This is why referring the matter to the New South Wales Department of Planning just simply for another set of eyes is actually reasonable. It also is important that we look at what other councils are doing along the same pipeline. In Canterbury Bankstown, the Mumbai-Sydney ethane pipeline runs through heavily densely populated suburbs, including Padstow, Brisbane, Panania and East Hills. Their council commissioned a comprehensive land use safety study. These findings were not used to impose blanket bans or wide buffer zones. Instead, only specified properties with elevated risks are subject to additional controls. Development is allowed to proceed, including residential intensification with mitigation measures, such as fire-resistant construction. Their draft planning controls focuses on managing risks, not restricting development unnecessarily. Their draft planning controls focus on managing risks and not, so I'm repeating myself here. They require a pipeline safety management plan during construction, again, a proportionate and evidence-based approach. In short, Canterbury Bankstown Council did not adopt 200 metre no sensitive uses blanket restriction. They adopted a risk-based targeted strategy fully aligned with the actual findings of their hazardous analysis. So we must ask, why would George River Council adopt this harsher, more restrictive planning response than other councils dealing with the exact same pipeline issue? Especially when our own independent report says that the risk is well below state thresholds. So this has become more important when we consider the impact on the New South Wales low to medium, the LMR housing policy, which aims to increase housing supplied in well-located areas, both Beverly Hills and Riverwood, and why it's an issue not just for Beverly Hills but Riverwood. Those suburbs have actually been identified as areas that are in desperate need of major revitalisation. They need more housing, more amenities and renewed public spaces. If we apply an overly broad 200 metre restriction without strong evidence, we actually risk sterilising large areas around key transport corridors. We're blocking affordable and diverse housing. We're creating barriers to achieve the state's housing targets, and we're falling out of step with other New South Wales councils are managing and how they are actually dealing with the exact same issue. I understand that community safety is paramount. It's not up for debate, but safety must be guided by facts, not by unnecessary over caution or the fear of liability. Being safe does not mean shutting down development opportunities, especially when independent experts have already found that the risk is just comfortably below the state standards. Progressive councils don't adopt risk avoidance that hinder revitalisation. They take a balanced approach, one that keeps residents safe and allows communities to grow and thrive. So referring this matter to New South Wales Department of Planning ensures our decision is evidence-based, it's consistent with state policies, it's benchmarked against what other councils are actually doing, best practice approaches, it's supportive of housing growth and renewal, and above all, we're ensuring safety. Thank you.
That you keep laughing during Councillor Angelotti's speech just then. We all know this is not a laughing matter. Residents.
Councillor Gallagher, please sit down. Please sit down. Councillor Jamison, have a question.
So I'm sorry, I think I was at the environmental committee. I've got heaps of questions, but I'm just surprised. I was under the understanding that we don't have any restrictions. We don't even need to have fire resistant controls. Is that right for housing? Could I just have a clarification of that, please? That's the first
question to the director. I think the question is a lot of influence from speakers and from Councillor Angelotti that the report before us tonight will be restricting development of housing supply and restricting LMR. Is any of that true?
Madam Mayor and councillors, what's before you is essentially outlined in recommendation 1 from IRISCA. It talks to restricting, it's got 6 bullet points there in terms of sensitive uses. It is not restricting housing supply unless you talk about maybe seniors housing. So it's very prescriptive on the types of sensitive uses that we're looking to preclude from 200 metres from the pipeline. That's all on a very precautionary principle where it says all avoidable risks should be avoided. So as the speakers have said, the risk, sorry, speak up. Okay, thank you. The risk is very, very minor. You can characterise it like that. The point that staff have in front of them, though, is that we have a recommendation to plan for the future. So in relation to planning for the future, that all avoidable risks should be avoided. And that's the one that underpins the recommendation to go to 200 metres. More specifically on fire risk, I'm not going to provide ad hoc planning advice. Sorry, I'm more than happy to take those questions on notice to get a bit more specific to aid the discussion.
And just another question, if I may, the all avoidable risks should be avoided is only in relation to sensitive use developments such as schools, hospitals, seniors housing, early education and respite daycare. Is that correct?
Yes, as outlined. I was just going to get on page 4 of the attached report.
And any of that development is, as I understand, not covered under the LMR.
Correct. Yeah.
So there's no restriction to LMR with this 200 metre buffer restriction on sensitive land uses. Councillor Wang, you wish to speak for the amendment?
Sorry. Yes.
It's Councillor Johnson. You could just stand up.
Yes. Sorry. There's quite a few. So was this done as per the state government policy? Will the LEPP go to state government? How are they involved? Or, was this done in isolation with the state government?
Madam Mayor and Council, the process of the LEP amendment is that the document would go through to the Department for Comment. And as you've seen in past planning proposals, they come back with what's called a gateway determination. And for example, if the hazard analysis is seen to be inadequate, needs to be amended, they have the opportunity to provide quite a bit of critique, as they have done with the Beverly Hills work for a while through the Department of Climate Change and the like. So yes, they're going to have a right of reply on whatever is put to them in relation to hazard assessment.
Councillor Jamison, if you want to come back to you, or Councillor Wang, if you would like to speak to the amendment, please.
Thank you. Thank you. So actually, through you, Madam Chair, first I ask a question to the director. So if we go to the question with notice, the one I raised, Q&W 042-25, the question 11. Question 11.
We're dealing with the ethane to Mumbai hazard report at the moment, Councillor Wang, so we'll get to questions with notice later in the agenda.
I know, but it's related to the early question. Is related to the pipeline to the LMR. I think the answer is I can read out. So, sorry.
Go ahead, read it out.
So it's just to confirm.
Which question with notice you're referring to?
42-25. Yeah, it's related to this pipeline. Question 11. It says the it is noticed that the application of MMR provisions is restricted for development within 200 meters of MSE gas pipeline.
That's right. The restrictive development is as outlined in the Environment and Planning Report, which is sensitive uses, the ones I mentioned, schools, daycares, hospitals. They're the only types of development restricted in the 200-meter zone.
So that's for the MMR, right? Restricting.
The LMR has no impact on this report. This report has an LMR unrelated. There's no relation at all.
But this one said it has. You can take it offline, but my reading is this one applied to application of the MMR.
We'll take it offline, Councillor Wang.
It's restricted.
It's not. It's not restricted.
I think what he's trying to say is in the second last paragraph, paragraph 11, it is noted that the application of the LMR provisions is restricted for development. So I think he's just querying you on whether that statement is still factual or not.
Yeah, that's a question. Can take. Yeah, that's a question. Yeah. So is MMR restricted by these 200 meters?
Yeah, I'll take them on notice.
Yes. Okay.
It should be noted that the state government has restrictions on their own LMR. So my interpretation of that statement is that the state government have applied restrictions in that zone, like they exclude heritage items, for example.
Okay, so you can clarify offline. That would be great. Okay. Okay, thank you.
So, Councillor Wang, do you wish to speak for the amendment? Otherwise, we will ask for speakers against.
Yeah. Can I speak for the amendment?
That's what I'm asking. Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So can I put the picture up I sent earlier? So I'm just trying to help everybody to understand the risk. What is it about? Yeah. Oh yeah. So okay. So this is this report is there's some technical detail. However, I think this page sums this very well. I can go slow as everybody understand. So this bioshare, or this is a picture of the risk at the horizon. That's the distance from the pipeline. If you look at the middle, it's 0. That means where the pipeline is, and all the way to 200 meters. And vertical is a bit hard to understand, but essentially it means the chance of fatal accident once in a year, or in other words, how many million years it will have one fatality. And the top one, I go slowly, the 0, you can see the 0.6, that's once in a million years. Yes, 10 to the power of 6 is 1 million. And the red line, the first one says New South Wales standard. So that's 1 in 2 million years. Yeah. And you can see that's above the top of this bio chart. So that means right in the middle on top of this pipeline, the risk is still below the New South Wales standard. Roughly, if you build a childcare center on top of the pipeline or medical center. Roughly, you will have 1 fatality in 7 million years. So I pose there any questions I can answer. That's what it is. Okay, so I go down. So if you go down to the -9, that's billion years. Yeah, the second red line, that's 1 in billion years. And the third line is 1 in 5 billion years. And the most important is the bottom red line. So that's -12. That's 1 trillion years. So this 200 meter, as you can see, is still below this 1 trillion years. So what we are talking about is about fatality 1 in 5 trillion years. Yeah. So then I give you a perspective of what these years mean. In 1 billion years, the Earth will not be there. In 5 billion years, the Sun will not be there. And in 1 trillion years, the university will be almost dead. That's how it is. So this 200 meters risk is we are trying to address is 1 in 5 trillion years, 1 fatality. That's just how negligible. When we say negligible, that's just how small the number is. And by the way, this 200 meters is not accurate. If you look at the plot, from 150 to 200, it's flat out at about 170. So this 200 meters is just the arbitrary number. It's not the accurate number. Any questions there? Yeah, so we put this 200 meter limitation to address 1 in 5 trillion years risk, 1 fatality in layman's term. Yeah. Okay. So that's why in its findings it says so this finding says there's absolutely there's no impediment to any development, sensitive or not. So that's true. So that's based on this data. However, the recommendation states apply a 200 meter activity hazard risk map and the Titan Clause 6.16 to restrict sensitive users. So there's a clear conflict here. So you can proceed.
Thank you, Councillor Wang. If you could conclude your comments,
okay.
Please.
So I just conclude there. So this one does not pass the PAP test. It does not pass the science test. It should not pass the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wang. Councillor Jamison.
Just some questions. Have you had any applications for sensitive use? And I would imagine anyone with sensitive use would actually have to do their own risk assessment as well. But has there actually been any requirement?
To the director.
Madam Mayor, Council, I'll need to take that on notice. I'm not across the number of, we have the data, just not ready to hand.
And the other question is that one of the speakers spoke about that why did we have to do a second costly report, and the government already provided it. How much did it cost and why did we need to do a separate report?
Madam Mayor and Councillors, the separate report basically is because we're planning into the future. The previous report that was provided to the government was in relation to a change of use at the time, and we've just done some work through Oriskar. I don't recall the financial amount at the moment. That can be provided to council shortly. But we needed to, with the change in the pipeline use, we needed to update the report that Oriskar had provided.
Councillor Lansbury, do you wish to speak against the motion? I have a question.
Yeah. Thanks, Madam Mayor. I have a question for the director. Based on the report that went to the Environment and Planning Committee, it talks about I'm assuming, consultant called Oriskar, who I'm not familiar with. And I'm just wondering if you could just explain who they are, what their deal is, like what I don't know what the recommendations are. Consider, recommendation 1, consider restricting sensitive use developments on properties within the measurement length of 200 metres from the pipeline. I assume they know what they're talking about. So if you could just please explain their background.
To the director.
Madam Mayor and Council, I'm not acutely familiar and in a position to provide a background for their qualifications and the like. In this forum, you can safely assume that we're relying on their recommendation and their professionalism and their accreditation to a recommendation through to yourself. Again, in terms of, I've taken a number of questions on notice, we can also provide information around the procurement process, their qualifications and the like, because there was one. But as Councillor Wang has articulated, and it's pretty challenging numbers to understand through his interpretation, and I'm not going to suggest otherwise that is wrong or right. That analysis formulated a recommendation by a professional firm that put council staff and ultimately council in the position that it is now. So it's just a point of clarity I'd wish to point out. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ainsworth, do you have a question?
Yeah, I do. So through you, what's the lifeline of that pipeline? Do we know? No?
Take that on
Okay.
notice.
Yeah. Okay.
Wouldn't have you take that on
Thank you. Also, can we also find out if Canterbury Bankstown Council use the same people to do their reports? Because I think they do.
Councillor Wang, do you have a question?
Yes. So this is related to the lifespan of this pipeline. So actually, I know this pipeline is 50 years. It's already 20 years. So what's the consideration? Has the study or recommendation taken that into consideration? Only 20 years left.
Sure. Sorry, Madam Mayor and Councillors. So I understood you were asking about the relevance of the length of term remaining for the life of the pipeline. I don't think staff have an opinion around that. That would have formed part of the analysis from Aristocrat and probably more importantly, the owner of the pipeline when they asked and sought approval for changing the use, which obviously, as you know, has gone through and been approved and determined to change. So that's probably more relevant for them in changing the asset.
Thank you. Councillors, is there anyone wishes to speak against this amendment?
Yeah.
Councillor Lansbury?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I do wish to speak against it. I find it quite astonishing that we would be trying to dilute any sort of recommendation on a safety basis. It just really concerns me that we'd be doing that. As I said, I'm not familiar with Aristocrat, but I'm assuming that they're industry experts. They would not be making these recommendations loosely. And I think it's quite astonishing to me that we would be just because other councils might not be doing it. I don't really care what Canterbury Bankstown or Bayside Council are doing in relation to safety issues. I care about what we do as a council and the liability that we would be creating if we don't follow the recommendations of experts. Now, we can all sit around here and consider ourselves experts on things when we've been on council for 12 months and participated in a few meetings, but I think it's a bit rich to, I'm kind of used to it, I guess, from certain my experience over the last 12 months that, you know, as I've said, you can sit in a room for 20 years and learn a thing or two, but to actually reject the advice of council officers who have taken their advice from industry experts who, if they're erring on the side of caution, great. I would rather that. I would rather not us having anything that's any capacity to build seniors housing or childcare or schools or hospitals in an area that might have any sort of risk. I just think it's, I don't know, I just find it really baffling. Safety to me is always paramount. Going back to when we were dealing with the Beverly Hills Master Plan, probably in about 2020, because we were meeting online at that point, it was being pushed to endorse the master plan at the time, and at that point we hadn't even investigated the Moomba pipeline aspect of it, and that was the major red flag for those of us, a group of us on the Environment and Planning Committee, which is always a very difficult committee because it's quite dense, a lot of the information, and there's a lot of stuff to get your head around. But I think you really need to, as a councillor, consider the advice that experts put before you, not people that perhaps think they know because you might want to actually make a bit of money out of investing in housing. This is not affecting housing. This would be restricting sensitive development for the most vulnerable people in the community. God forbid anything should go wrong, but would any of you like that on your head if something did go wrong? If we were negligent enough to override industry experts who've said, no, we recommend that you don't do anything like this with sensitive developments within 200 metres. Oh, we know better than that. We know better than that. Let's just override them and the council officers. You'll never get me doing that because I respect the advice of experts, and it's a little insulting to say that we need to refer it to the state government agency to determine the appropriateness of it, because again it's like, oh well, you know, these guys who made the recommendation on the business paper tonight have probably been planners for a number of years and understand how the process works, but some people think that they know better and they just want to override that because, I don't know, whatever their reasons for. It's baffling to me why you would ever mess with safety aspects, but I for one won't be, and I'd be sticking to I'm not supporting this amendment. I think it's quite a negligent amendment, and I will be sticking with the original recommendation by our council officers based on the industry experts' recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor Lansbury. Councillor Jamieson?
Yes, I don't
You
think
wish
I
to speak against? Are you
Yes,
speaking against? Okay.
Yeah. So I don't think I could be as eloquent as Councillor Lounsbury, but yes, I'm pretty shocked. To me, that is point C is actually rewriting the director's report and shows that there is a lack of understanding or no discussion. So I'm quite shocked actually, because at the end of the day, there is no restrictions on heights, or the heights of that won't be restricted to anything that we're doing. So I'm quite surprised that everybody's talking about housing. That is actually incorrect. So we can't sort of say, hey, let's listen to your advice when I know that's incorrect. I don't even know where the information's coming from. So if you're not going to directors and actually asking the questions, then it greatly concerns me. So no, I can't support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Jamieson. I'm going to speak against the amendment as well, and I can tell you where the information is coming from because it's contained in the report. So if anybody has read the report and gone through and clicked on the Ariscar report, it makes reference to where the recommendation is coming from, and it's actually coming from the state government's land use safety planning guidelines. It's called HIPAP number 10, and in that it states, it has one sentence that says, for sensitive uses, all avoidable risks should be avoided. So this is for our most vulnerable members of the community that would be living or being around those sensitive areas. Councillor Wayne, you made reference to the 1 in 1 trillion chance. The recommendation is that for vulnerable people, we have zero tolerance. We don't even take the 1 in 1 trillion chance. That is the recommendation as per the state government's land use planning safety guidelines that this report and these experts have taken advice from. So Council has undertaken a thorough risk assessment of this pipeline, both for its original ethane use and now for its approved use to carry natural gas. The assessment has been completed, as I've said, in accordance with the state government's land use safety planning guidelines. It's available on the public record for anybody to click through on that report and find. When the state government approved both the original ethane pipeline and the later conversion to natural gas, it assessed the risk based on the condition of the day, the existing land uses, the existing population, the existing density at the time of approval. And that is, and it continues to be, the responsibility of the state government. So the commentary that the state government has assessed it as zero risk, that is in relation to the current and existing density in the area. That's the state government's obligation. Council's responsibility is different. When we assess risk in relation to land use planning, we must look ahead, as the director has mentioned, and consider the impacts of future changes, not the conditions that existed when the pipeline was first approved. That means analysing the implications of any proposal that would substantially increase population, intensify density, or introduce new concentrations of people in proximity to the pipeline. This includes rezonings, major developments, multi-storey residential projects, or any land use change that increase the number of people living, working, or gathering nearby. Our obligation is to ensure that these future planning decisions comply with the state government's land use safety planning guidelines so that growth, particularly growth that increases population density, occurs safely and responsibly. But the key message for Beverly Hills residents is this: the new approved natural gas use of the pipeline represents a significantly lower risk than the historic ethane use. As a result, the presence of the pipeline imposes very few constraints on future development in the surrounding area. The only mitigation measure is to avoid placing sensitive land uses such as hospitals or aged care facilities within the defined buffer zone. So residents can be confident that council is meeting the state government's safety criteria and ensuring that any future growth or new development around the pipeline occurs safely for both current and future residents. And with that, I'm going to put the amendment as moved by Councillor Anzalotti and seconded by Councillor Wayne. And if we could please go around the room and take a vote on the amendment.
Madam Mayor.
I'm against.
Councillor Allison.
Against.
Councillor Anzalotti.
For.
Councillor Arthur.
For.
Councillor Demoski.
Against.
Councillor Gow.
For.
Councillor Hayes.
For.
Councillor Jamison. Councillor Lansbury. Councillor Liu.
Against.
Councillor Mort.
Against.
Councillor Punn.
For.
Councillor Stratokopoulos.
Against.
Councillor Wang.
For.
That's 8 votes against and 6 votes for.
I declare the amendment lost. And we will revert back to the original motion as moved by Councillor Allison and seconded by Councillor Lansbury. Councillor Jamison?
If you're just given the light of what's been going on, can I have an amendment point D, if that's up there, and I'll just read it. That council provide clear and accessible communication to ensure the community receives accurate information about the Moomba pipeline and to correct any misunderstandings.
So you would like to add an extra item part D to the recommendation. Councillor Allison, do you accept that amendment as put by Councillor Jamison?
Do accept that amendment.
And
Madam Mayor.
Councillor Lansbury? Councillor Lansbury accepts that. Okay, so that will form part of the original motion. I'll just wait a second. Okay, so we're at the original motion as moved by Councillor Allison and seconded by Councillor Lansbury. Yep, good. Okay, so that's got now part D added, which has been accepted by Councillor Allison and Councillor Lansbury. And if I will put that motion, if we could please go around the room and take the vote.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor.
Sorry,
I have
Councillor
a
Demoski.
remark, if I may, or just an observation or a comment, if that is fits within the.
I've just put the motion, so sorry, Councillor Demoski. I put the motion. If we could take the vote. Sorry, I didn't see stand up and call me out. So
Madam Mayor.
I'm for the motion.
Councillor Allison.
For.
Councillor Anzalotti.
Against.
Councillor Arthur.
Against.
Councillor Demoski.
For.
Councillor Gow.
Against.
Councillor Hayes.
Against.
Councillor Jamison.
For.
Councillor Lansbury.
For.
Councillor Liu.
For.
Councillor Mort.
For.
Councillor Pun.
Against.
Councillor Stratokopoulos.
For.
Councillor Wang.
Against.
That's 8 votes for, 6 votes against.
I declare the motion carried.
Yeah, I have an observation after the fact.
Oh.
No.
We move to the next item. I've got that right. Is CCL 10525. It's the report of the Community and Culture Committee meeting held on the 10th of November 2025. Councillor Mort.
I move that the recommendations of the report of the Community and Culture meeting held on the 10th of November, CCL 105-25, as the recommendations of the council officers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mort. Could I have a seconder, Councillor Lansbury? It's moved by Councillor Mort, seconded by Councillor Lansbury. Councillors, any discussion? If not, I'll put the item. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
All those against? I declare that item carried. We move to CCL 10625, tabling of disclosures of interest returns of councillors and designated persons. Councillor Jamison, Councillor Mott, if you could just turn your light off, please.
I move the recommendation of the staff.
Thank you, Councillor Jamison. And if I could have a seconder, please. Councillor Liu, thank you. Councillors, any discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against? Declare it carried. Next, CCL 10725, report on outstanding council resolutions, period up to and including 30th September 2025. Councillor Jamison.
I move the recommendation of the staff.
And seconded by Councillor Mort. Councillors, any discussion? If not, I'll put the item. All those in favour say aye. All those against? I declare it carried. Next, CCL 10825, application pursuant to Council Award Discretionary Fund Policy, November 2025. Councillor Jamison.
I move the recommendation of the staff.
Seconded by Councillor Liu. Any discussion? If not, I'll put the item. All those in favour say aye. All those against? Declare it carried. Next, CCL 10925, audited financial statements and auditors report for the year end 30th of June 2025. Councillor Jamison.
I move the recommendation of the staff.
And seconded by councillors. Any discussion? No, I'll put the item. All those in favour say aye. All those against? Declare the item carried. Next, CCL 11025, Georges River Council annual report. Councillor Jamison.
I move the recommendation of the staff.
Seconded by Councillor Lansbury. Councillors, any discussion? If not, I'll put the item. All those in favour say aye. All those against? I declare it carried. Move to assets and infrastructure. Now, Councillor Olsen has declared a pecuniary interest on this item, so we'll wait for him to vacate. And we move to CCL 11125, that is T24-024, Tree Management and Associated Services. Now, councillors, there is a confidential attachment. If there's any questions on that, we will need to go into confidential. But if there's not, then we can discuss it in open council. So, Councillor Mott.
I move the recommendations as they are in the report.
Thank you, Councillor Mott. And Councillor Liu has seconded that. Councillor Jamison, you have a question?
I have a question for you, Madam Mayor. This is in regards to the background comment number 6 in the background. Can the director explain how this proactive approach will help increase our tree canopy and not decimate our tree canopy?
If I could put that question to our new director.
Through the Mayor, the plan with proactive tree management is to undertake those activities in a way to maintain tree health and in doing so maintain the canopy cover and build on it through our tree planting programs.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, councillors, I will put the item. All those in favour say aye. All those against, I declare it carried. Someone could let Councillor Allison back in. And we move to Community and Culture. So Councillor Wang has declared a significant non-pecuniary interest on the next item. So we'll wait for Councillor Allison. And we move to CCL 11225, feasibility study, Hurstville Night Markets. Councillor Lansbury is moving that as chair. And Councillor Punny, you seconding that?
I'm happy with this. Thanks.
You want a second? He's already said. I'll call it for a second.
Okay, so great, thank
Okay,
you.
Councillor
Sorry about that, everyone. We'll move the officer's recommendation that council endorse the continuation of the Hurstville night markets to support the local nighttime economy and cultural vibrancy, and that council initiates a competitive procurement process to appoint an experienced market operator to deliver a consistent program of monthly night markets at Hurstville Plaza from March to December 2026.
Thank you, Councillor Lansbury. Councillors, anyone wishing to speak for this motion? As a seconder, you wish to speak, Councillor Munn?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Like my other fellow Hurstville ward councillors, I'm sure that we can all enjoy the fact that the night markets have been a wonderful success. I know I speak on behalf of our councillors when I say that it's just a delight to see this invigorated Hurstville, along with the square that you have. You've got the Humphreys, you've got something that's bustling and vibrant, and you know, if there's anything you know about me, it's something that I want to see Hurstville continue to develop. So I praise council for this initiative and ensuring that it goes forward. We would love to see this expansion into other suburbs that could see a nighttime economy. I think it's amazing to see Sydney come back to life, particularly after COVID. It's going to mean more productivity, more economic benefits, not just for our residents, but for our business owners who are taking a gamble on Hurstville and trying to make it as vibrant as other suburbs like Burwood, like Eastwood, like Chatswood. We've got some ladders to climb, George, as the council, and I think Hurstville is a success story, and I encourage council to continue supporting this initiative.
Thank you, Councillor Pun. Councillor Liu?
Oh, thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for this feasibility study being put up by the executive manager of City's Futures in such a quick speed, only I think 2 months, 3 months. So thank you for that report to us. I think I stand up to speak in strong support of these recommendations. We can see that's A and B, 2 points of recommendations in the report. Because over the last year, I think 12 months, the trial night market, I call it trial because it's not a formalized yet, it's just been tested water. I think at the Hurstville Plaza, really demonstrate that there is appetite for this kind of a night market monthly in that site. And looking at the detailed report, we can see that a weekly night market doesn't suit the community and doesn't suit the site. That's really been confirmed, not only by the wordings, I'm pretty sure it's been supported by the data and the surveys as well. And so we're going back to the first recommendation, endorsing the continuation of the Hurstville night market. I think we are choosing to support our local nighttime economy. There is no doubt for that. And then the second part of the recommendation, initiating a competitive procurement processing. I think the second part is very essential as well. Over the past year, we know 12 months, well, the night market has delivered many positive outcomes we can see, but there have also been several instances of non-compliance and operational inconsistency under the current operator, Georges River Association. So I think this process gives the council the opportunity to appoint an experienced operator who can meet the required standards, ensure consistent quality, and deliver a safe and well-managed program. So looking ahead, when I look at the next step and opportunities, that column also provide a very clear pathway for improvement. So I think this process we are going to introduce will require a detailed event management plan, promotional strategy, and a communication plan. This is very important to ensure strong marketing, smooth operations, and ongoing feedback loops between stockholders, visitors, and local business. So secondly, when we look at the identification of partnership with local business, community groups, and potential sponsors is a very exciting opportunities. This partnership will help diversity the event program and also to fit the community who really desire for. So this is about how to build what has worked, addressing what needs enforcement, and deliver a consistent, high-quality monthly night market that really reflects the cultural richness and diversity of community. So that's why I'm standing up to speak to support this feasibility study. Thank you, Mr. May.
Thank you, Councillor Liu. Councillors, anyone wishing to speak against the item? If not, I will put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against? I declare the motion carried. We move to, I'll just wait for Councillor Wang to come back. We move to notices of motion. The first one is NM 125, parking access issues in Carlton. Councillor Gow.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the motion as read. It's very simple. It's purely about consulting with local businesses about potentially changing some parking signs on.
Councillor Gow, you're moving the motion as is?
I move it as is.
Okay, if you just want to wait a second, I'll call for a seconder on that, and then you may speak to the motion. Councillor Anzalotti's first up to second that, so I'll Councillor Anzalotti.
Something very simple. A pharmacy is a community service, and residents deserve better access to local community services, such as its local pharmacies. Before I speak on this motion, and I may even consider withdrawing this motion, I do have some questions for the executive manager for City Futures, who I know drafted the officer's recommendation. So question one, what specific outcomes from these ongoing discussions have been held or achieved?
So Councillor Gow, you put the questions through me as the chair.
Well, through you, Madam Mayor.
Yeah, I'll direct the questions.
Well, I've got a set of questions. So number one,
put the first question.
What specific outcomes from these ongoing discussions have been achieved, or broadly, when did these meetings, or if any correspondence, have taken place with Transport for New South Wales, if council officers are saying that they are actioning my motion, which passed almost 12 months ago?
Thank you, Councillor Gow. Yeah, if you could sit
Very
down.
good.
Thank you. And I'm going to put the question to the new Director of Assets and Infrastructure, Mr. Spelton. The question is relating to our engagement with Transport for New South Wales in relation to the previous motion that's been put forward on this matter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through the Mayor. Our traffic team has been working with Transport for New South Wales since that motion was first put back in December, and our advice from Transport for New South Wales was that we should investigate the parking in the lower speed roads prior to them investigating any changes on the state road network. To that extent, we have undertaken a community consultation for proposed changes to Francis Street to introduce some short-term parking in that street, and I think the published paper speaks to the results of that consultation, being that it wasn't supported by the majority of people that were consulted.
Through you, Madam Mayor, thank you, and I appreciate that from Director Spelter. Through you, Madam Mayor, secondary question, building on from now. 12 months on from my motion, which I passed Council at the December meeting, I note that in the business papers, Council had consulted with 6 residents or had feedback from 6 residents on Francis Street, 4 against a proposal to a parking change on Francis Street when the motion is about the Princess Highway, and 2 for it. So the question is, yes or no, have local businesses, including the pharmacy, the Carlton Day and Night Pharmacy, have they been consulted?
Question, I'll put that to the Director of Assets and Infrastructure as well.
Through the Mayor, there has been, in relation to changes to the parking restrictions on the Princess Highway, it's a controlled road, state controlled road. So,
Sorry, allow the Director to finish, please.
they were part of the consultation for changes in Francis Street, but it's my understanding they were. Otherwise, I'll take that one on notice and confirm whether they were consulted. But my understanding is that all the surrounding businesses and the residents in Francis Street were consulted, and only 6 decided to respond to that consultation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Through you, Madam Mayor, my understanding is that none of the businesses on the Princess Highway, including the pharmacy, which requested this parking change 12 months ago, were consulted at all as part of this process. So
we'll take that on notice, Councillor Gow, and
well, the director's taking the director answered and said that businesses were consulted as part of the Francis Street change, but they were not being consulted.
So
and he's going to take it on.
So, Councillor Gow, my interpretation of the director's response was as a result of the response provided to Council by Transport for New South Wales when they actioned the request from the previous motion, which was to request changes to restrictions on the controlled road, Princess Highway. Transport for New South Wales responded to Council and said, we don't really want to change our road. We think you should go and change the adjoining streets instead. So based off of that advice from Transport for New South Wales, Council undertook consultation, I think within a perimeter around the businesses and including the residents nearby. I'm happy for a question to be taken on notice as to which individual properties were notified in that consultation. If we can put that on as a question with notice to be reported at a future council meeting.
So having spoken with some local businesses, including the pharmacy, they haven't heard anything from council about this motion or about any consultation for the last 12 months. I will be putting this motion forward. This issue has been on the table for more than a year, for about 12 months. As you saw, there is no evidence of real action, of real engagement with the affected businesses. The community has seen no improvement at all in the last 12 months. My motion is about doing something small that could potentially have a big impact in terms of access to local services, to local pharmacies for local residents.
I have a question to the director. In your experience in dealing with Transport for New South Wales, where would they place a request such as this in terms of priorities in their schedule of works for a request to changing of parking restrictions on Princess Highway?
Through the Mayor, my experience with Transport for New South Wales is they rarely look at these type of parking changes in isolation. They prefer to look at a transport corridor as a holistic project, and they put a fairly low priority on these type of parking changes, in my experience.
Madam Mayor, this is purely about getting the ball rolling and purely about doing something, not
If you've got a question, you can put that question. Otherwise, Councillor Anzalotti, as a seconder, do you wish to speak to this motion?
Can I ask a question, please? Can I just ask through you to the director, has that request been taken up with Transport for New South Wales, or is that too premature, even though it was put forward 12 months ago?
I think the director answered that previously. He said that the request has been put forward, and the response that council received, that's what he just said before, was that they would request that we look at making the changes to the lower speed roads, being our local roads that we control. That was the response earlier.
So where are you up to with doing that then? I guess.
So as the report states, we've done that. We've consulted with the neighbouring streets, and the responses are in the report. So 6 responses and 4 were
Please, Madam Mayor,
question.
my apologies. I do want to get up and ask a further question. Has a formal request for a parking sign change on the Princess Highway been made to Transport for New South Wales? Not something that says we're considering, but tell me more what you want us to do. But actually saying council has moved a motion 12 months ago and made a decision to request that you change one parking sign on the Princess Highway. Has that request been put through?
I think that the director has answered that question, that the request has been made.
I think the director has the question on notice.
No, the director gave the response that was provided to council upon our request. So that to me tells me we've made the formal request because they provided. No. The reason council went to Francis Street was based off the response received from Transport for New South Wales. That's the reason, because Transport for New South Wales said, we don't really want to make any changes to Princess Highway. Instead, you think there's a problem, go and look to solve the problem on your local streets. And so council then consulted with the residents on Francis Street. I'm going to call for any speakers against this motion. Councillor Lansbury.
I'm speaking against it, but I'm more speaking in a situation of how Transport for New South Wales works. And one of the things that I noticed that the Cogra EO announced recently is that the right-hand turn arrows in Terry Street have finally been approved. I can't tell you how many years that took to get to that point. Like I think Councillor Stratokopoulos had a crack at it. I've had several cracks at it going back to the days of Cogra. These things move at a glacial pace, Councillor Gow, and 12 months has passed, but that is not a long time in Transport for New South Wales world. Like it would take years for them to even get back to it. And yes, it's possibly worth their consideration, but it's not a priority. And it's council can only do so much in as far as advocating to them, and ultimately it's up to them. And I've said this a million times as well, like at the intersection of Connells Point Road and King George's Road at South Hurstville, there used to be no right turn arrows. That took years to get them to agree to that, because they would say, oh, an extra phase of a phase of lights would slow down traffic. These things don't happen overnight, and this is something that is out of council's hands because it's a state road. It's not a local road where we can actually consider it, and a resolution of council is not going to really mean that much to them, because we, from the example that I'm just citing now, with the Terry Street, King George's Road one, that's only just gone through now. Georges River's been in existence for 8 years, and we were talking about this back in the days of Cogra. So just to give you some perspective.
Thank you. Councillor Jamieson, you're speaking against the motion?
Yeah, and I guess I'm speaking more on the governance and than the procedure. And I probably want to raise a comment. I think that somebody on Ferry Avenue made that we've got to be careful that we're not representing one individual, that we are actually representing others, and we be careful not to concerns of manning prejudice. It's like, it's great that you're going and advocating it, but not at the expense of something else. And I think that's why we have the procedures, that's why we have the process. And I'm concerned that you're rehashing your own previous motion when really you should probably be finding out what the issues are and speaking to people with probably a bit more experience to sort of help you understand what's going on. So yes, I'm voting against.
Thank you, Councillor Jamieson. Councillor Gow, please sit down. It's not your. Thank you, Councillor Demosky. Do you have a question?
Ask a question, or again observation or remark, or
ask a question. We've had 2 things.
No, I just wanted to ask. I just wanted to sort of maybe ask or suggest to Councillor Gow that since this is a state Transport of New South Wales and state issue and state-owned road, maybe he can address, he can ask and raise these questions with the local state member for Cogra. Maybe they can help him a bit more, rather than, because the council can only write to the state government, which I understand it happened, but maybe the local state member can help. And I know Councillor Gow is highly respected in that office, so maybe they can help you. I was just a suggestion, that's all. Thank you.
They are waiting for council to run
Councillor
further
Gow,
to them.
Councillor
with
Gow,
a
sorry, Councillor
resolution.
Gow, please sit down. Okay,
So as a right of reply to Councillor
Councillor
Demosky,
Gow,
as a right
Councillor Gow, please sit down. I'm going to speak against this motion. I understand. Point of order. I'm hearing the meeting, Councillor Gow. If you could please remain seated if you wish to speak. I know the process, and if you wish to speak, you put your light on, and if it's the right process for me to come to you, I'll come to you. But at the moment, I'm speaking against the motion. So if you could just please remain seated and wait. If you could please, if you wish to speak, you put your light on, and I can come to you when it's your turn. I understand the pharmacy's concern about customers being able to park close to their business. I use this pharmacy from time to time, and in my experience, I've never had difficulty finding a parking spot there. There is already a 30-minute parking limit in place on Saturday mornings. My concern with the proposed change is that reducing this time limit further would disadvantage the other businesses in the strip. There's a hairdresser, a cafe, Pilates studio, Italian restaurant, a shoe shop, and the Glow Crazy Kids Party Centre, all of which require more than 15 minutes for a typical visit. So council can't make a change that benefits one business while negatively impacting several others. Our responsibility is to take a balanced approach and make decisions that support the whole precinct and not just a single operator. Councillor Gow, I will now ask you if you would like your right of reply. If not, I will put the motion.
I do like a right of reply, Madam Mayor. Thank you for your comments. My motion 12 months ago was to get council to go out there and consult with local businesses about these parking changes, whether they would be okay with changing parking restrictions on Saturday and Sunday. However, unfortunately, from what we've learned tonight and from what I know over the last 12 months, none of the businesses have been consulted. As a result of this motion, 6 residents were consulted on Francis Street, 4 for when the matter was about Princess Highway. As a right of reply to Councillor Demosky, if I may finish, Councillor Jamieson, 4 against, 2 for on Francis Street when the matter was about the Princess Highway. As a right of reply to and to answer your question, Councillor Demosky, the Transport for New South Wales will only act upon a recommendation made by council. Usually that is the process. Now, council hasn't made any recommendations from my understanding and what we've learned tonight. Therefore, after 12 months, I'm going to have another crack at this motion. All I want, all businesses want, all residents want is for council to get the ball rolling on this. Madam Mayor mentioned she's never had parking difficulties at the pharmacy. Have you been there on a Sunday when there is a Dragons game playing down at Jubilee?
I have not been there then, but
Do I have a right of reply?
no, you don't get a reply. Sorry, Oliver, but I'm going to correct the record, Councillor Gow, because I can confirm that one of the people that objected is the hairdresser. They strongly opposed to there being a reduction in the timing of the parking there. So that does confirm that businesses were consulted. Just because only 6 responded doesn't mean that they were the only ones that were that received the notification. Understand that you did request a copy of all the submissions received, and one of them was from the hairdresser. So you would be able to.
Yes, it was. But it's not Francis. Let's look at some guys.
Point of order, can the mayor please chair the meeting as opposed to Councillor Gow?
Thank you, Councillor Jamieson. I will chair the meeting. Thank you. I will put the motion. If we could please go around the room and take the vote.
Madam Mayor.
Against.
Councillor Allison.
Against.
Councillor Anzalotti.
For.
Councillor Arthur.
For.
Councillor Demosky.
Against.
Councillor Gow.
For.
Councillor Hayes.
For.
Councillor Jamieson.
Against.
Councillor Lansbury.
Against.
Councillor Liu.
Against.
Councillor Mort.
Against.
Councillor Pun.
For.
Councillor Stratokopoulos.
Against.
Councillor Wang.
For.
8 votes against, 6 votes for.
I declare the motion lost. Next, we move to NM 10125, Ogden Park Master Plan, fencing around off-leash dog area. Councillor Gao.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Appreciate it. I move that upon completion of the Ogden Park Master Plan, to proceed to go and submit an application for funding under the New South Wales Community Building Partnerships Grant for councils for the construction of fencing around the off-leash dog area in Ogden Park. Ensure that the location and design of the fencing are informed by community feedback.
Yes, Councillor.
Motion's ready over there. I can face over there if I can.
You can also bring it up on your iPad and have it right in front of you.
Okay, Madam Mayor.
Not as yet. Councillor Gauss reading out his motion, and we will call for a seconder if none of his colleagues feel obliged to second it whilst he's reading it out.
Madam Mayor, thank you, and thank you for the thank you, Councillor Mort. So I move that upon completion of the Ogden Park Master Plan, proceed to prepare and submit an application for funding under the New South Wales Community Building Partnerships Grant for the construction of fencing around the off-leash dog area in Ogden Park. Ensure that the location and design of the fencing are informed by community feedback and aligned with the master plan, with fencing to be installed in the non-swampy, well-drained areas of the park as preferred by local residents. Genuinely engage with the community this time to confirm the preferred fencing location and ensure the design supports both amenity and safety for dogs and dog owners. Receive a further report following the outcome, got to apply first before we get the outcome, of the grant application to confirm funding status and next steps for delivery, Madam Mayor. I move the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Gao. You can sit down. I will call for a seconder as no one has.
Yep, I'll second.
Councillor Hayes has seconded that. Thank you, Councillor Hayes. Councillor Gao, do you wish to speak to the motion?
I do like to speak, Madam Mayor. So, Madam Mayor, I'm not letting this issue go. I will keep bringing it up in this chamber for debate until council actually listens and does what the residents have asked for. I have a petition with just over 250 local residents and dog owners living in apartment buildings, urging council to reconsider its position on the location of the dog fence proposed earlier this year. These are not fringe voices. This is the community speaking loud and clear. Residents are simply asking for common sense and respect. Put the fenced area on the northern side of the park, the dry side. It does not interfere with the basketball courts. It's away from the playground and certainly away from the jacaranda trees. It's not unreasonable, it's practical and it's common sense. I moved an amendment back in March to try and fix this when it was proposed and put here by the council officers, senior council officers. Instead, Madam Mayor, you looked the residents right here in the eye and told them that you knew better than them about the park that they actually use.
Councillor Gao, please, point of
You
order.
made, oh,
Point of order, please withdraw. Please withdraw the
Madam
statement.
Mayor, you made referrals and comments back in March, which implied that council
Councillor
officers
Gao,
knew better than
please,
residents.
please don't put words in my mouth. If you could please withdraw the statement.
I'll withdraw that
Thank
statement in good faith. That's why I advocated for the full review of the master plan. It was the only way to stop council from wasting public money on a design everyone already knew would fail. It would have been an embarrassment and would have certainly been a waste of public funds, whether it's local or whether it's state. Tonight is the chance to correct that mistake, Madam Mayor, to right a wrong, Madam Mayor. Get in early and apply for the grants and actually listen to residents about what they want and support my motion.
Thank you, Councillor Gao. Councillor Stratikopoulos.
Sorry, I probably jumped in a bit early. I just wanted to speak against the motion.
Yeah. Please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll keep this brief. Council unanimously supported Councillor Gow's motion to review the Hogman Park Master Plan. We all agreed on that approach, yet here we are again. Another attempt to sidestep the process. He himself set in motion. The Master Plan funding was endorsed tonight. The work is about to start, and already we're being asked to jump ahead, lock in an outcome, and apply funding for a project that may not even make it into the plan. We've been down this road before. The last time Councillor Gow changed direction on this issue, Council had to return grant funding. That's not something we should risk repeating. This motion preemptively chooses an outcome before consultation has even begun. It undermines the process we all agreed to. And it's not fair to the community to pretend we're doing genuine engagement while already deciding the result. For those reasons, I won't be supporting the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Stratokopoulos. Councillors, any other councillors wishing to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Lansbury.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I'm going to be speaking against the motion. And to start off, I commend Councillor Gow's enthusiasm for the dog lovers of Cogra and wanting to get a dog park for them in Hogman Park. And I guess, you know, I think we've dealt with this issue half a dozen times to my knowledge this year. And I just wanted to remind everybody that what we agreed to back in April was to initiate a review of the Hogman Park Master Plan. I won't read the whole thing. Commence renew community consultation, commence consultation on the dog park being relocated to the empty spaces that you've identified as the prime location for the dog park. But the most important thing is pauses implementation of the proposed dog park and related infrastructure until the review and renewed consultation is complete and adopted by council. Now, I think that the director's comments pretty much sum it up. It's a little premature to be saying we should be applying for grant funding when we don't actually know what we're going to be looking at with the revised master plan for Hogman Park. I will remind you again, and anyone who doesn't believe this can check the broadcast from April. I asked the question of the director, if we pause this and go down this road according to what that particular recommendation asked, or motion asked, would we lose the grant funding? And he said, I'd have to take that on notice, but we all knew that we would. At the time, this was late April, I asked him also, when would the dog park be completed if we went ahead with that? And he said it was in the capital works schedule to be done by the end of the financial year, which would have meant about 6 weeks later. So we would have had a dog park there, might not have been the exact location that you thought you wanted it, but there was consultation with the community and the dog lovers. And one of the first lessons that I learned as a councillor, Councillor Gow, is you can never make everybody happy. You have to pick a position that is a compromise. And this was a good compromise. I don't think that there is a swampy drainage issue to the dog park on the other side of the canal in Bayside Council. I think it does really well. It's sort of lower down even, you know, so it does still get runoff even though there's the canal that's there. I've been down there a couple of times to check it out. I haven't seen that it's that swampy. Perhaps if you had torrential rain for weeks at a time, it might be really bad. Drainage was going to be improved. But to actually proceed with another crack at it, and you summed it up very well, Councillor Stratokopoulos, it's sort of trying to go around the back way to try and get something done, which we've already resolved this in April. I warned you at the time that if you go ahead with that particular recommendation, that you won't get your dog park, it'll drop off the list, we'll lose the grant funding. Voila, that's what happened. And now we're back here again. You're wanting to preempt the process that you put in motion. We all supported you knowing, okay, he wants to go down this road. He'll learn that if you actually do this, you won't get the dog park. The people that put their submissions in tonight very passionately about the dogs, I wonder if they knew the history of this, because it's been totally misrepresented what the outcome was, that council was the one that caused the problem, and council dragging the chain on this meant that we lost the grant funding. Now you and I know that that's not true. That's not how it was represented outside. It was all council's fault. The big bad council stopped the project, lost the grant funding. Kel Horror, But the reality is, Councillor Gow, this was your doing because you took the decision that you didn't like the outcome that the community consultation turned out and the council officers came up with. So you thought that you'd be smart and you'd go around the back way and you would get a better outcome. Well, what you've done is you've delayed the project because we'd be lucky to get a dog park. The master plan will come back, let's say in the next 12 months, maybe, and then we'll have to go through the process. You can't seek grant funding while that process is underway. So, you know, as I said, I commend your enthusiasm, but I would suggest that perhaps you start following the processes that we have time and time again tried to explain to you in this chamber. If you want to get stuff done, there are ways of getting things done, and trying to be clever and to go around the back way to get things done more quickly and push other items off the agenda is not going to work for you, because you set this process in motion by calling for initiating a review of the master plan. So I'm supporting the director's comments on this because it would be premature to be trying to seek grant funding when we don't know what is going to turn up. We don't know what the community consultation want. Let's not forget the original master plan going back to the days of Cogra, a skate park was scheduled, like a skate park up the top there, I think, next to the jacaranda trees maybe. And that never went anywhere. You know, often master plans are not as prescriptive as people seem to think. It's a bit of a guide, a bit of an overarching vision of what we might be able to do, but I don't support this. Like I'm just sick of having to deal with the same issues time and time again.
Madam Mayor, can I have a right of reply?
If you wish to speak, please put your light on and remain seated. And I will come to you when it's your turn to speak. So if you wish to speak, put your light on.
Put my light
and
on.
wait your turn like everybody else. Thank you. I'm going to speak against the motion. I believe that it's obviously premature. If we were to apply for a grant right now for something that we don't know whether or not council will or will not be implementing and receive that grant funding, council risks reputational damage in receiving a grant that we then have to return. It's not a good look for that to happen. We've had that happen once already on this process, and I don't think council should be going through that process again and putting ourselves at risk of reputational damage again of getting grant funding that we can't deliver upon. So I believe we should allow the master plan process to play out as has been unanimously resolved by this council, undertake consultation on the full review and plan for the park, and hopefully we will get a good outcome for everybody in the community. Councillor Gow, I now invite you if you'd like your right of reply.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As a right of reply to Councillor Lansbury, I do not ignore a petition with over just about 250 local Cogra residents having presented to me asking for council to not waste public funding in building a dog park that they will not be utilising. We all know that the reason why I put forth a motion for a holistic review of the Hogman Park Master Plan was to pause the project. So we do not waste public funds, whether it's local or whether it's state. Every one of us here can agree to just that. Councillor Lansbury, you mentioned about some skate park from 2009 that was identified in the Hogman Park Master Plan. We all know Hogman Park has no skate park. It is now the year 2025, 16 years, about 16 years onwards. Master plan processes take very long. They are many times not realistic, as we know from, you mentioned about a skate park. It's not a reality even today. This motion is purely about righting a wrong. Council lost the funding. I'm trying to get it back and get council to reapply for it. What is the point of order, Councillor Jamieson?
The council lost the grant. It was actually
Council lost the grant funding by failing to consult with local residents.
There's been a point of order called, which is Councillor Jamieson is challenging the untrue statement that council lost the grant funding. I'll uphold the point of order. If you could please withdraw the statement, as that is not true.
Because if local residents were properly consulted about the location, if they took into consideration of the petition, 250 real people in the Cogra Northern
There's been a point of order on your statement.
You're asking me to withdraw that statement.
I am asking you to withdraw the statement. It's not factual. Council Council returned the grant funding as we were unable to deliver upon the project because of the motion that you put forward and was unanimously supported by Council. So your statement that Council lost the grant funding is incorrect, and I'm going to please ask you to withdraw that statement.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I'm not going to withdraw that statement because I find it very hard.
So Councillor Gow, I'm going to ask you again to withdraw it. It's an incorrect statement. It's false. It's not true. It causes which is a breach of the Code of Meeting Practice. So if you could please
Where in the Code of Meeting Practice does it state that I have to withdraw this, what I said, which I believe as an elected representative is factual.
I'm very well aware that statements that bring Council into disrepute, it is in bringing Council into disrepute because it's a false statement that infers that Council lost the grant funding, that we were negligible in our activities and therefore we lost it. That is not true. It is the statement brings Council into disrepute.
I'm sorry to do this, Madam Mayor, but through you to the General Manager, can he please provide some advice?
Yeah, to the General Manager, if you could please advise the provision of the Code of Meeting Practice that says that statements that bring Council into disrepute are against the Code of Meeting Practice and therefore against the Code of Conduct.
Through you, Madam Mayor, section 420, the chairperson considers that a speaker at a public forum has engaged in conduct
So I found it here. Thank you. Acts of disorder, section 15.11, section E. A councillor commits an act of disorder if the councillor at a meeting of the council or a committee of the council says or does anything that is inconsistent with maintaining order at the meeting or is likely to bring the council or the committee into disrepute. That is what the is considered an act of disorder, and I'm ruling that your statement is an act of disorder because it brings council into disrepute. And I've asked you to please withdraw it. And if you don't withdraw it, I'm going to please ask you to leave the meeting.
Can I ask a question respectfully?
I'm going to deal with the point of order first.
It does go to your matter, and I think it's substantive. If there is a dispute as to whether something is a fact or an opinion, is there a mechanism in this meeting practice that allows that to be questioned? Because I think that ultimately is what Councillor Gow is asking.
So I believe that I have the, as the chair, I can rule on it as a point of order, and that Councillor Gow, I request that he withdraw that. If he chooses not to, we will have a procedural motion for him to be expelled from the meeting. You can call a motion of dissent on my ruling if you disagree with it, and then that will be put to a procedural vote as to whether or not my ruling is correct or not correct.
Madam Mayor, can I get some through you, Madam Mayor, to the General Manager, where in your powers under the Code of Meeting Practice that we're debating something that I, as an elected representative of the Kogarah Bay Ward, believe is factual, and you are trying to say it's not factual, where in the Code of Meeting Practice to the General Manager do you have the powers to remove me, an elected representative, from this meeting?
May I suggest?
I'll put the question to the General Manager.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I might just look at our council up there.
Through you, Madam Mayor, could I just have the question again?
The question was, if I'm ruling that something that the council perceives is subjective, and I'm ruling that it is bringing the council into disrepute under section 15.11 part E under acts of disorder, what right or what gives me the authority to make that ruling?
An act which brings the council into disrepute would have to be an act which, when considered by members of the public, brings unwarranted attention to the council, such that it due to misconduct by a particular person or otherwise. But it's up to you, Madam Chair, as the chair of this committee, Madam Mayor, as the chair of this committee, to decide whether a particular act or act of disorder has been made having regard to the particular comment made, which it's essentially a decision that you must form as to whether there's been an act of disorder as a result of the comment which brings this, and having regard to whether that comment did in fact bring disrepute or has the ability to bring disrepute to council.
So my understanding, reading the code here, it says the chairperson's ruling must be obeyed unless a motion dissenting from the ruling is passed. So if I'm ruling that the statement is bringing council into disrepute and I've requested it be withdrawn, I believe that my ruling must be obeyed unless there is a motion of dissent. Is that correct interpretation?
Well then, Madam Mayor, prior to myself withdrawing this motion, withdrawing my statement that council lost the grant funding, which I maintain it did, I move a motion of a motion of dissent against your ruling to that prior to my withdrawal.
Point of order, can you just withdraw the motion or leave the room and not keep going on?
He's entitled to move a motion of dissent. I'm going to put a question to the General Counsel. I've ruled that the statement is bringing council into disrepute, and now the council has moved the motion of dissent. Is the correct process? We will just put that motion to a vote, the motion of dissent against my ruling.
Madam Mayor, the motions of dissent are dealt with under clause 15.8 and following of the Code of Meeting Practice, and it allows a councillor to move dissent from the ruling of the chair on a point of order or a question of order, and if that happens, the chair must suspend the business before the council until a decision is made on the motion of dissent.
Okay. So then does a motion of dissent require a seconder?
No.
No, because it's procedural motion.
Have you got this?
No.
It's got it on there. It says motion of dissent, mover yes, seconder no, speaker writes is mover and chair, debate no, right of reply no.
Okay. Well, there is motion of dissent against my ruling that Councillor Gow's statement is bringing council into disrepute. I will put the motion of dissent and we will go around the room for a vote.
Madam Mayor.
I'm against the motion.
Councillor Allison.
Yes.
Councillor Anzalotti.
For.
Councillor Arthur.
For.
Councillor Domoski.
Against.
Councillor Gow.
For.
Councillor Hayes.
For.
Councillor Jamison.
Against.
Councillor Lansbury.
Against.
Councillor Liu. Councillor Mort.
Against.
Councillor Pun.
For.
Councillor Stratokopoulos.
Against.
Councillor Wang.
For.
6 votes for, 8 votes against.
I declare the motion of dissent lost, and Councillor Gow, I will request you to withdraw the statement. Otherwise, I will move another procedural motion for you to be expelled from the meeting.
I withdraw the statement.
Thank you. On that, I will put the motion to a vote. The right of reply has been taken. It's been moved by Councillor Gow, seconded by Councillor Hayes. If we could please go around the room. This is the vote on the Hogden Park Master Plan as put by Councillor Gow and seconded by Councillor Hayes.
Madam Mayor.
Against.
Councillor Allison.
Against.
Councillor Anzalotti.
For.
Councillor Arthur.
For.
Councillor Demoski,
Against.
Councillor Gow,
For.
Councillor Hayes,
For.
Councillor Jamison,
Against.
Councillor Lansbury,
Against.
Councillor Lou,
Against.
Councillor Mort,
Against.
Councillor Pun,
For.
Councillor Stratokopoulos,
Against.
Councillor Wang.
For.
6 votes for, 8 votes against.
I declare the motion lost. We move to NM 102-25. Congratulations to St George Multicultural Network. Councillor Mort.
This is quite a contrast in motions, but I'm very, very happy to congratulate the St George.
If I could just call for a second up. Councillor Lansbury, thank you.
All right. I move a motion that Council formally congratulate the staff of Georges River Council, the St George Multicultural Network, and all community partners involved in organising and delivering the 2025 Migrant Information Day on a very successful and well-attended event. And B, acknowledge the important contribution this event makes in supporting newly arrived migrants, refugees, and culturally diverse communities within the Georges River area by connecting them to vital local services, information, and opportunities for inclusion. And C, extend appreciation to Auntie Barb for her heartfelt welcome to country, and to the event sponsors SBS and the AFL for their generous support for this year's program. And D, recognise the dedication of the community capacity building team, communications and engagement team, and all the council staff who contributed to planning, coordinating coordinating the community engagement to ensure this event's success. And I'll just have a few words to it. So I'm pleased to move this motion tonight to formally congratulate our council staff, the St George Multicultural Network, and all the community partners who made the 2025 Migrant Information Day such a great success. This event is a wonderful example of what happens when our community comes together, helping new migrants, refugees, and culturally diverse residents feel supported, informed, and included here in Georges River. I'd like to acknowledge Auntie Barb for a heartfelt welcome to country, and to thank the sponsors SBS and AFL for their generous support. And finally, sincere appreciation to our communications and engagement team and everyone at council who worked so hard behind the scenes. This event truly reflects the spirit of inclusion and defines our community. So I hope you all can support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Councillor Lansbury as a seconder. Anyone wishing to speak against? If not, I will put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against? I declare the motion carried. Next, we move to NM 103-25, English Street, Cogra, pedestrian access. Councillor Gow. Seconded by, are you seconding that, Councillor Moore? Or
no,
you've just Councillor Pun, you're seconding it?
Yes. I don't think Councillor Moore wants to second any motions about footpaths.
I'm here for community, Councillor Gow.
Okay. We'll see. So I move, Madam Mayor, that Council recognises that poor pedestrian access along English Street, Cogra, next to Jubilee Stadium, in the absence of a continuous pedestrian footpath, notes that this creates safety risks and limits access for residents and families attending the stadium and nearby facilities, commits to funding the upgrade and completion of a continuous footpath along English Street as part of the current financial year's footpath capital works program, that these works are completed within a timeline of 12 months. I've just got a question to the Executive Manager for City through you,
to me,
Madam
please.
Mayor.
Thank you.
Do you grant the question?
You have to put the question to me,
I
and I will decide who the question goes to. So
I put the question to you through you, Madam Mayor. Having read the comments, the officers' comments on the business papers, they state very clearly that the council officers, the senior council officers here, are against my notice of motion. Are they suggesting that residents with prams, mobility issues, or kids who walk down the right-hand side of English Street should just crisscross the road, walk roughly 300 metres, then cross back just to reach Cogra Park and Jubilee Stadium safely? That's my question.
I'll put the question to the director.
Through the mayor, I don't expect people to cross the road and recross over the road. We've got a footpath program that prioritises new footpaths based on a range of criteria, including accessibility for mothers with prams and the like.
Thank you. Thank you. Good view, Madam Mayor. Let me to clarify that on this instance on English Street, where there is no continuous footpath on the right-hand side going down on English Street is a busy thoroughfare for pedestrians accessing Cogra Park and services on the Princess Highway. That the council officer's recommendation to residents is to crisscross what can be a busy road, walk 300 metres, crisscross back where the footpath continues to Cogra Park.
I think the director just answered the same question.
Director didn't give an answer.
The director answered the question.
Well, director alluded to council's capital works footpath program, but didn't answer the question whether that was what their recommendation is.
I think that the director's comments are in the business paper and they speak for themselves. So I don't think that.
So I put this motion forward I put this motion forward for consideration by the elected council. We all know there are bits and pieces of footpaths, but they do not form a continuous safe route for pedestrians accessing Jubilee Stadium or Cogra Park. It is a busy thoroughfare. We've all walked those stretches. Some of us have, some of us haven't. And having door-knocked local residents on the street, it is a continuing bugbear for them having to crisscross along the road to get to Cogra Park. My job as an elected representative is to represent local residents and achieve things and try and get things moving, things that haven't been addressed by this council for a very long time. This is not safe for families, it's not safe for prams, it's not safe for older residents, it's not safe for people with mobility issues, and not safe for people travelling down on match days as well. Crossovers can be fine, maybe on a cul-de-sac street, you know, smaller backside street, but it shouldn't be where it has become a very busy thoroughfare. Council is spending money on what I believe as an elected representative on far less important matters, including, from what I learnt last month, just over $73,000 on your mayoral vehicle, Madam Mayor. Instead of fixing a footpath next to a stadium with key thoroughfare.
Councillor Gow, I understand you wanted to raise this as an issue. It's not relevant to this term of council. Decision made in the last term of council. I'm going to put on the record right now and I'll actually call you out for actually misinforming and telling lies to members in the community about the mayoral vehicle. I've had residents tell me that you're telling them that I've purchased an $80,000 car for myself. So I'd please request that you refrain from lying to members of the community. That's come to me from two members of the community who've advised me for that. So if you could continue to conclude your comments on the English Street footpath, and we will move on.
Well, councillors, you've heard my point. Let's put. I move to put this motion to a vote.
Thank you, Councillor Stratokopoulos.
I'd just like to speak against this motion, Madam Mayor.
Let's go, Stratokopoulos.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have to say that this motion raises more questions than it answers. Because if you look past the glossy wording about families and safety, You start to wonder who this really benefits. Funnily enough, the only people who regularly use that particular stretch of English Street on event days aren't mums with prams or locals walking to the game. They are the select few with access to the VIP reserved parking inside Cogra Park. As such, his motion certainly doesn't reflect the priorities of the average Dragon supporter walking in from the train station or parking on the other side of the stadium. They're not asking for this.
Councillor Gow.
That is not factually true.
As such, his motion certainly doesn't reflect the priorities of
Sorry,
the average
Councillor
Dragon.
Shadowcroppers, what is your point of order?
That the only people exclusively using that right side of English Street are VIP goers to Jubilee Stadium. Madam Mayor, Cogra Park is right there. There's a
And it's
playground.
reserved for
There's-
VIP parking on the day of game days. If you could sit
Not
down,
even-
please,
well,
Councillor Gow.
What about outside of game days?
Okay, well, Councillor Stratocoppers is entitled to speak against the motion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Gow, for allowing me to continue to speak against your VIP motion. So, as such, sorry, I'm going to have to repeat this again. I was rudely interrupted twice by Councillor Gow. As such, Councillor Gow's motion certainly doesn't reflect the priorities of the average Dragon supporter walking in from the train station or parking on the other side of the stadium. They're not asking for this. They're nowhere near this section, the VIP section. What we've got here looks like yet another example of Councillor Gow trying to manufacture an issue where none exists. Residents can see through it, so should council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stratocoppers. Councillors, any other councillors wishing to speak for or against this motion? I wish to speak against the motion. I have to say, Councillor Gow, I am genuinely puzzled by the basis of this motion. English Street already has a continuous footpath along the stadium side of the road, with the exception of a short section of approximately 50 metres between Cogra Community Services at number 49 and Gate C of the stadium. In that small stretch, there are 6 angled parking spaces. It is not at all clear to me that a compliant footpath could be delivered there without impacting on those spaces, and there's been no assessment provided to demonstrate otherwise. From my own observations on event days, this part of the stadium perimeter attracts some of the lowest levels of pedestrian activity. It primarily serves those using the reserved parking in Cogra Park rather than the general public. Given all of that, I am struggling to understand the problem that this motion is trying to solve. Importantly, though, the Jubilee Stadium and the Cogra Master Plan already proposes a continuous circular walking path around the border precinct. So any new footpath in that particular location should be delivered as part of the holistic plan once the master plan is formally approved, so that any impacts on infrastructure, traffic flow, parking and accessibility can be properly considered together. And for these reasons, I cannot support the motion at this time. Councillors, any other discussion? If not, I will put the motion. If we could please go around the room and take the vote.
Madam Mayor,
I'm against.
Councillor Allison, Councillor Anzalotti,
For.
Councillor Arthur,
For.
Councillor Demoski,
Against.
Councillor Gow,
For.
Councillor Hayes,
For.
Councillor Jamieson,
Against.
Councillor Lansbury,
Against.
Councillor Lou,
Against.
Councillor Mort,
Against.
Councillor Parton,
For.
Councillor Stratocoppoulos,
Against.
Councillor Wang.
For.
6 votes for, 8 votes against.
I declare the motion lost. We move to NM 104-25, Ferry Avenue, Beverley Park, traffic safety issues. Councillor Gow.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I appreciate it. I've got an amendment to my motion
Seconded by Councillor
reflected
Arthur, is it?
in the business papers. So, Madam Mayor, I move that Council 1 acknowledges the ongoing issues of speeding, hooning, and general traffic safety concerns on Ferry Avenue in Beverley Park, and recognises this petition being presented by local residents calling for action on this matter. Notes that investigations into these issues are currently underway. Installs an additional traffic counter outside Moore Park on Ferry Avenue to capture speeding activity in line with residents' lived experiences and to support the investigation with accurate data. Undertakes consultation with local residents to determine the most appropriate location for a solar-powered feedback sign. Installs a permanent solar-powered speed feedback sign on Ferry Avenue to alert drivers and deter speeding. Consider installing a traffic calming device outside Moore Park and away from any households on Ferry Avenue to deter hooning and speeding following the investigation. Commits to completing these works within 12 months and writes immediately to St George LAC requesting regular targeted patrols and enforcement along Ferry Avenue, particularly during peak hooning periods. Madam Mayor, are you able to call for a seconder?
Councillor Arthur has already seconded the motion.
Thank you. Thanks, Council. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, Madam Mayor, I have a petition here with more than 50 signatures, pen to paper. Many of them been right on the street across from you, Madam Mayor. I'm hopeful that you may recognise some names on this petition. These residents are tired of being ignored while speeding, hooning and unsafe driving continue week after week outside their homes. Council can quote old speed data, crash stats and bureaucratic thresholds and guidelines all at once, but I trust the lived experiences of the community, the 50 residents here who have signed our petition. Residents don't need to wait for someone to be seriously injured or for a fatal accident before this becomes statistically significant. These are families, seniors, parents with prams, and they are all saying loud and clear, the majority of residents on Ferry Avenue and surrounds, they are simply asking for council to do something. The petition is not just a list of names calling for safety and respect, but the council to listen to the community and consider what they have to say.
Councillor Gowan, are you tabling the petition?
I am tabling the petition.
If you could go on.
Yep. Madam Mayor, through you to look. Also, I also wanted to, where credit is given, where credit is due, commend a council for having commenced a preliminary investigation on these issues, installing a traffic counting line on Ferry Avenue. We, as local residents, believe there should be an additional traffic counter on the other side of the street to accurately capture data. And obviously, for those of us who've driven past Ferry Avenue recently, we've seen a VMS board, and that is credit to council having been installed. I just believe the VMS board, having consulted with local residents, is facing the wrong direction. So through you, Madam Mayor, what I submitted a council request last Monday to the council, asking council to reconsider the positioning of the temporary VMS board. The response that I received back was that council had consulted with local residents about the positioning of the VMS board, contrary to the feedback that I have received. I requested the data of the consultation, or what basis were residents consulted upon, and I'm putting the question to you tonight, since I have not received a response since last Monday.
Sorry, the question, could you repeat the question again?
The question is,
Sorry, Councillor Moore, could you just turn your microphone off for a second? Sorry.
Residents have told me directly that the VMS board is facing the wrong direction and isn't capturing the speed behaviour they regularly witness. I'm asking here in the chamber what consultation was actually undertaken with residents about the placement of the temporary VMS board.
I'm aware where the VMS board is located, and I would say that is the longer stretch leading up to Ferry Avenue than it would be if they were coming from Jubilee Avenue. So if the assumption is that someone picks up more speed on a longer stretch, then I believe it is facing the correct way.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'm asking the council officers, senior council officers came back to me last Monday saying they had consulted with residents about the positioning of the temporary VMS board. Contrary to the feedback that I've received, I'm asking this chamber tonight, what are the details of the consultation, as no one I have spoken to have told me that they have been consulted.
I'll put the question to the Executive Manager of City Futures.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Gow, for the question. I did receive on the back of a councillor request, a question from Councillor Gow on receiving the consultation, and we are gathering that information. He, I think I recall, demanded I give it to him by Wednesday, and today's Monday, so he will be getting the information. But we are compiling it at the moment.
Thank you. Just for a point of clarification, Councillor Gow, you moved that amendment as your motion. And Councillor Arthur, you accepting the motion as moved with the amendment there. So that becomes the motion. Yeah. Okay. Just a point of clarification. Thank you. Councillor Stratokopoulos, Deputy Mayor Stratokopoulos.
Yeah, I'd just like to speak against this, Madam Mayor. I'm honestly not sure what Councillor Gow is doing here tonight. Less than 3 months ago, he brought a motion about this exact same issue on Ferry Avenue, and it passed unanimously.
It wasn't any point of order, and to point of order on a factual basis. My motion 3 months ago, as like
Councillor Stratokopoulos, could you just sit down and allow him to raise the point of order?
Was amended dramatically by yourself, Councillor Stratokopoulos, if you still remember. And
your point of order is?
To correct the record that the council unanimously endorsed my motion 3 months ago.
So, Councillor Gow, you can only stand behind your voting record. So when Councillor Stratokopoulos amended your motion and then you voted for it, then and you voted for the motion. So that is that's not what Councillor Stratokopoulos was talking about, any amendment. He was talking about the motion that was passed unanimously. That is what is on the record of council. You vote this chamber, he voted unanimously to support the amendment as put by Councillor Stratokopoulos. So you only have your voting record to stand behind, and the minutes will document that. Councillor Stratokopoulos, please continue.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for that obvious clarification. If Councillor Gow was actually listening to the comments that I just made, they were only about 30 seconds ago, so I figured that his memory shouldn't have failed him that quickly. What I did say was that it passed unanimously, which might suggest that you actually did vote for it, Councillor Gow. But anyway, getting back to what I was saying, it's starting to feel like Councillor Gow is more interested in generating drama than solutions. And to be clear, nothing significant has changed on the ground since his last move, except the council has now installed a BMS sign his motion called for. The only difference is the political need to look like he's doing something again. And I have to say, the way this is framed makes it sound like Ferry Avenue is some lawless racetrack. It's not. Like many streets in our area, there's a Campbell and Ernie. But the data which Councillor Gow seems to ignore completely and has very little respect of government organisations, some being supported by his own particular party, put forward this data, and Councillor Gow thinks that that's irrelevant because Councillor Gow, once again, is just more interested in generating drama than solutions. Frankly, if Councillor Gow wants to keep resubmitting motions on the same topic every few months, you should at least wait till the first one has been fully implemented. Because right now, this feels like less concern for the residents and more like political recycling, and it wastes everyone's time. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Stratokopoulos. Councillors, anyone else wishing to speak for or against this motion? Councillor Jamieson.
Yeah, I would like to speak against it. I do it for the simple reason that I have seen firsthand how those signatures are generated, and I see the nice photo there of Mr. Councillor Gow. I saw it on Saturday. It's not necessarily a very upfront, so I prefer a more unbiased approach, so that people like Anastasia Thymus, who spoke, has a chance to say things and have an opportunity. And I appreciate that that has been done. And I think it's important to validate each one's and consider each person's opinion, and that's done by submissions. Now, I get how petitions work, but I've also seen how you get the signatures. So I prefer a more unbiased way of doing it.
Thank you, Councillor Jamieson. Councillor Anzalotti, speaking for the motion.
Can I make a comment?
Speaking for?
Yeah, I'll speak for it. I think what we're talking about here is an issue which is obviously of concern. Council would never put issues in place if they didn't think it was a concern. I think bringing up the way that Councillor Gow gets signatures and saying the way that he goes about doing it, I'd probably like you to elaborate on that further. I know when I go out and petition, it's a friendly knock on the door, and it's come off the back of people, number of residents actually emailing me what those issues are, and then we take it out to the community, and that's how we gather them. It's definitely not through some sort of thuggerish activity which you are sort of inferring here tonight, Councillor Jamieson.
I wish to speak against the motion, and I do know some people who have signed that, Councillor Gow, and they have informed me they signed it because they didn't want to offend their neighbour. So that, and I do want to acknowledge the speakers who have come here tonight and have stayed to the end of the meeting to listen to this debate. So thank you for coming forward and expressing your point of view, that there are multiple points of view on this, and I acknowledge that you felt very left out of the fact that you didn't receive any of the communications from Councillor Gow in relation to the petition or the community meetings, and you felt like that was a selective omission. So I'm going to speak against the motion. We've heard multiple viewpoints tonight in relation to speeding on Ferry Avenue. I don't support the motion, as again we have a councillor with no engineering qualifications trying to prescribe traffic engineering solutions. It sets a very dangerous precedent. As the Director's comments outline, council officers are currently actioning the request to investigate safety interventions on Ferry Avenue. The speed radar VMS board is currently in place. I do not deny that on occasion there is hooning behaviour on Ferry Avenue. I generally hear these hoons on Jubilee Avenue before they turn the corner and hit Ferry Avenue. It happens on occasion, as it does in many streets in our LGA. There are no streets in our LGA that are immune to occasional hooning behaviour. I also don't deny that there have been accidents on Ferry Avenue. A resident has shared footage with me of these accidents. However, I understand that these accidents were not as a result of speeding. One driver was having a medical episode and the other was a resident returning home. We already have a motion that is in progress on this very issue. This motion is redundant and it serves no purpose but to muddy the waters on the already unanimously supported motion from Councillor Gow on this issue less than 3 months ago. If there's no further discussion, I will put the motion.
There is further discussion, Madam Mayor. As a right of reply to you, Madam Mayor, am I able to speak?
Yes.
Yep.
Right of reply.
This is a long-standing issue, as you can appreciate, Madam Mayor. Like many issues that I bring to this chamber, I was elected as a mandate, on a mandate by the residents of the Kogarah Bay Walk, the residents of Beverley Park, to fight the issues important to them, and I will not stop doing that whatsoever. Investigations on this road have happened before, where council officers have written back to council laws and said no further action is required. Therefore, my notice of motion. I believe in the lived experiences of local residents before before council. Saying they're speeding regularly everywhere in Beverley Park, even on Jubilee Avenue, everywhere, does not warrant not doing anything.
On occasion.
This motion, well, on occasion speeding does not warrant not doing anything. I was door knocking, as Councillor Jamieson had suggested I was on Saturday. Residents keenly signed my petition. Majority had said that this is a massive issue for them, that they've written to you, Madam Mayor, written to council about these issues, and they're pleading for action. To the residents, the Simoses, I did pay a visit. They were not home. I left a note for them to reach out to me that day on Saturday. Yes. So, yeah. So, well, Madam Mayor, you mentioned the Simoses, so I thought I did go and pay them a visit on Saturday and left a note. I wanted to put that on the record. So, Madam Mayor, in closing, these are important issues that residents are pleading council to address. If it's not petition, what else can they do to have their issues heard? Because since the last 12 months I've been elected to this council, I have not seen one resolution actually being achieved in action.
Thank you. That's the right of reply. If we could please, I'm going to put the motion and we will go around the room for the vote.
I just have a question.
Sorry, I put the motion. We've had the right of reply, so we're going to take the vote, please, Ms. McKinley.
Madam Mayor,
I'm against.
Councillor Allison,
Against.
Councillor Anzalotti, Councillor Arthur,
For.
Councillor Demoski,
Against.
Councillor Gow,
For.
Councillor Hayes,
For.
Councillor Jamieson,
Against.
Councillor Lansbury,
Against.
Councillor Liu,
Against.
Councillor Mort,
Against.
Councillor Pun,
For.
Councillor Stratokopoulos,
Against.
Councillor Wang.
For.
6 votes for, 8 votes against.
I declare the motion lost. We move to questions with notice. We have QWN 04025, New South Wales Government's planning reforms. Councillor Liu, any further questions? No. Question with notice 04125, reconstruction of a new aquatic facility at Cars Park. Councillor Wang, any further questions?
No, thank you.
Question with notice 04225, mandatory planning alignment. Councillor Wang, any further questions?
Yes, just to mention, as I mentioned earlier, about the question 11. So if we could clarify that one, that would be great.
So,
Yes.
pardon? Okay, so take council. The director will take that on notice. Question with no notice 01625, overland flow floodplain risk management study and plan. Councillor Anzalotti, any further questions?
I do, but I'll contact the director.
Thank you. Question with no notice 01725, request project at the intersection at Carrington Avenue, Warwick Street, Hurstville. Councillor Pun. Thank you. Councillor, there being no other business on the agenda, I declare this meeting closed at 9:46 p.m. Thank you.